Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tom Bilyeu Show live. We're in it today, everybody. You will notice we've got Mason here in Drew's seat.
Hi.
Drew, unfortunately, is, I don't know, are we revealing what's happening to Drew? I don't think he would care, but hey, he's not here
nothing
today.
Bad.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, if you're Drew, I guess it's kind of bad. But anyway,
Yeah,
some
true.
super normal stuff, but I don't want to air his dirty laundry when he's not here. So no Drew. We're very sad about that, but we're very excited to see,
Yes.
as you were saying right before we started, Mason has upgraded his LLM.
Yeah.
So this is
Verbose
the
model, so we'll see how it goes.
I'm very excited. We're going to need some reinforcement learning on your guys' part, everybody. Behind the scenes, as usual, we've got Eric and G. We're ready to rock. So welcome, everybody. Hey, Sedition, anyone? Members of Congress have encouraged the military to ignore Trump's orders. Sort of. We'll get into the details about it. But Trump was certainly not slow to call them traitors and say they should be tried for sedition, which, by the way, carries the death penalty. So everything's calming down. It's all going to be fine, everybody. We're all getting along. It's wonderful. Speaking of wonderful, Bill Clinton has been referred to the DOJ for refusing to give testimony on involvement with Epstein. That one's going to get weird. So I'll be very eager to see how that plays out. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas vows that there will be no Sharia law or courts in Texas. As we talked about on Wednesday, he declared the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization and is going on a tear with all things Islam. So it'll be interesting to see if that runs up against legal challenges. Stay tuned. Nick Fuentes calls for a coalition between the hard right and progressive left. I was pretty surprised by this one, and I hated all of it. So that's going to be fun to discuss. The Supreme Court gave Trump, or at least the Trump admin, the green light to just keep deporting. So it's going to keep happening. Probably a good thing, even if it's not being handled in the best way possible. But a lot of the numbers in terms of the economy speak for themselves. We got to get some jobs. We got to get some jobs, everybody. So who knows? That really could play out well in that favor, but only time is going to tell. Right now is an economic bloodbath, if you guys haven't been watching. Stock market and crypto have gotten absolutely battered in the last 24 hours. If you own Bitcoin, you're not going to enjoy that graph. So strap in, everybody. But hey, if you're a buy the dipper, now is your chance. Mamdani and Trump are going to be sitting down today. I cannot wait to watch that. At the very time that Mamdani is assuring us that it doesn't matter how we pay for free things, Mason, as long as we pay for free things.
The how never matters.
The how always matters, Mason. It's all that matters. This is wild. We live in wild times, but I've decided today that we're going to be ebullient about it. We're going to be effervescent, Mason.
Wow.
We're going to have a good time.
Language.
We're going to have a good time today. That's it. It's just what it's going to be. I'm no more sourpussing around here.
Sourpussing. All right, so the first thing we got up, the Democratic veterans in Congress are urging other service members to refuse unspecified, unlawful orders. And so the first thing we've got up is the reel where they actually bring this up.
Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
This is
Former
the social
Air
proof,
Force.
so
We
know
want to speak
why
directly
we
to
should
members
listen
of the
to
military.
And the intelligence community.
Who take
good,
risks
Mason.
each day.
Keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals.
Against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army.
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more
All right, so that's kind of the gist of it. And I just want to get your initial reaction to just this message. What do you think when they're saying you can refuse unlawful orders?
So you have to break this down into two things. To have fun with it, you really are at a point where both sides are They think the other side is traitorous, murderous, corrupt in the extreme. So don't mistake that they have done the quote unquote right thing by saying unlawful orders. And so that's going to be the get out of jail free card for, what do you mean? This isn't seditious. We're just saying if they're unlawful orders, that they have every right to refuse them, which is not only true, you have an obligation to disregard unlawful orders. But they're obviously, like, this is more political. This is a sign of the political rot in our establishment, where each side views the other side as an existential threat that is so dangerous. And so while they gave themselves the caveat, where I think Trump's reaction to this is completely unhinged, way over the top, absolutely ridiculous, but he's responding to what they're really doing, not what they actually said, if you see what I mean.
Yep.
And so this is where you've got to be careful. If Trump had given us the response that it would make him the leader I really want whoever the president is to be, he would have said, listen, this is obviously a sign that both sides have immense distrust for each other, and we've got to find a way to cooperate. We've got to find a way to say these are the goals that we're trying to get to. We're not always going to agree on the way that we get to that goal, but that's a shared goal. These people they have humanity. They're doing their best, yada, yada, yada. But instead, he is, just literally pointing out they should be tried for a crime that has the death penalty. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about the way that he responded to it. So, and they are trying to drive a wedge between the military and President Trump. That seems self-evident to me. But people I don't think either side is being honest about the fact that people are trapped inside their bubbles. And so they exist in that frame of reference. The left, as crazy as the right thinks they are, the right, as crazy as the left thinks they are, they both believe that they're right and that the things that they're doing are the justified things to get us back on track. And that's the part that I'm always super surprised by, that people lose sight of that. They think that the other side is just malicious. I'm not saying that there isn't malice on both sides. I'm just saying if you try to make that your driving way that you parse all this, you will get lost. And the way to think about it is people will say whatever they need to say to gain and retain power, but they're doing it because they have a vision of where they want to steer the country, and they really believe that that's the right way. So, I'll leave it at steer the country, because not all of the outcomes are always going to be self-serving. But that doesn't mean everybody is thinking, I'm going to turn this into a hellscape and just cash my checks along the way. It's not how humans tend to act. So it becomes this incredibly nuanced, weird thing where people are doing a bad thing. Them trying to drive a wedge between the military and the president is a terrible idea. And at the same time, Trump's response is a terrible idea. And so you will just see this continued escalation. It's exactly how I feel when I look at the economy. It's like this is stupid on both sides, and everyone's just going to keep doing it.
So before we get to Trump's response, sometimes when you're tracking cause and effect, it's helpful to understand people's motivations or the incentives behind everything. So whether there actually are unlawful orders being given or not, what would their motivation behind this video, putting this video out, be, given either possible reality?
People that fall into this camp, which you can largely say the left. Okay, so the people in government that are on the left and the right, by the way, but I'm going to be addressing the people on the left right now, as that's the question. So the people on the left that are making this video, they really believe that Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. Okay, they really believe that. Now, they've got motivated thinking, they're in their own echo chambers, all of that, but they really believe that he's an existential threat. So they are going to do and say anything that they can do and say to protect America from Trump. There's a video done by one of the women that we have the clip where she addresses that. And she's like, listen, this is about how we deal with the people that we disagree with. And she's like, I'm not going to be intimidated to not try to protect my country. And so we're in this. This is why all the rhetoric about Trump being the next Hitler and all of that is so problematic, because what ends up happening is you trigger people's sense of moral duty. And it becomes, I have a moral duty to stop this person. And once you're like, I have a moral duty to do it, I don't know that I have a moral duty to follow the rules. I have a moral duty to stop this person. That's why the age-old question, if you could go back in a time machine, would you kill baby Hitler? Everybody knows killing babies, bad idea. They're defenseless, they're helpless, but that baby grows up to be somebody that kills all these people. So are you more bound by the morality of don't kill a baby, or are you more bound by the morality of think of all the lives that you would save? And so once you understand, if you can shove Trump into that frame of reference where it's like, oh, he is that thing. It's just, he hasn't done it yet, but he's going to do it. So he is future Hitler. And therefore, I have carte blanche to do whatever the hell that I want right now because he's future Hitler. And so it is a level of precog madness that somehow people cannot see. Fun thought exercise to map your morality when you're talking about baby Hitler. Absolutely terrible way to govern a nation when you think you are so right that even before he's done anything like that, that you can sentence him to that and start doing what I would say is absolutely unhinged, outlandish behavior from members of the Congress to intimate that you can just ignore him. Not only can, but you should ignore him. That is a terrible precedent. People should be arguing the points, not making calls to action like that. Just what are the things about Trump that you disagree with? Take this policy by policy, map from cause and effect, like tell me where you're trying to take me, and then show me how you're going to take me there. Explain to me again from first principles, cause and effect, why that's going to be a better place. And if you can't do that, shut the fuck up. And right now, it's these aren't ad hominem attacks, but it's coming from the same place. I don't have a compelling argument. I'm going to give you a slogan that you can say. I'm going to give you a way to not have to think for yourself. Just follow my lead. You get what I'm saying. And then you get division that escalates to the point where on an international stage, you're on such weakened ground that players begin, obviously I'm thinking largely of China, players begin taking advantage of you because they can see oh, you guys are super divided. So there are consequences to this kind of stuff on the global stage.
Got it. So going into Trump's actual response, the first one, he said, "This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up?" As a question. What's your initial response to this one?
I mean, it's what I was saying before. Trump is constitutionally incapable of dealing with people that he disagrees with on the political stage. All the what did he say? Shut up, piggy, to the reporter. It's like, God damn it. So there is a response to this that would be presidential. He does not play that card very often. And seeing him play that, because listen, you want to draw attention. This is a problem, guys. And handle that well. The reason that he doesn't is the same reason that I find myself being sucked into the abyss because I'm talking about this stuff all the time, is that it really does start to feel hopeless. And so in the hopelessness, you do find yourself, if you're of a certain personality, he's probably 10x more than me, where you just get to a point where you want to start getting really aggressive. And you have to pull yourself back from that because the aggression itself is what I'll call a caustic tool. It works, but it also hurts you. And so you have to go, okay, the dark energy, the Darth Vader vibes, they're very powerful, very powerful. And people that do not have access to the dark side of their own personality, the whole Jungian, you have to integrate your dark shadow, that's all true. If you don't have access to that, you will get taken advantage of. However, Jordan Peterson is also right that you need to be a man who is capable of great violence, rhetorical or otherwise, but keep that sword sheathed. This is why I often default to Nelson Mandela, who went through that, right? Goes to prison for a bombing attack. I can't remember if the bombing attack actually happened or they just found the bombs in his car. But anyway, he was certainly up to some rough shit. Goes to prison. And over the 27 or 28 years that he's in prison, the next generation of militants start coming to prison. And they're Nelson, you've got to give us the authority, the sort of moral authority to go out and tell people to violently take the country back. And he just absolutely refused. And that's what we need. We need somebody who's like, nope, the ideas are going to have to stand on their own. We are going to have to make a moral argument for this. We are going to have to stand up and be peaceful. We're going to have to unify rather. So Nelson Mandela doesn't come out of prison and go, we're a majority. We're effectively now going to oppress the white people. And his whole idea was it is the oppressor that gives up their humanity. And so when I see Trump respond like this, I'm like, bro, when you lash out like that, you give up the moral high ground. You give up any sort of clarity. You become just like one-upsmanship on who's going to be more aggressive, who's going to cow the other side. And so now you get this brinksmanship on both sides where everybody's just escalatory. And it's like somebody just needs to go, listen, I'm standing here with my sword, right? I want everybody to know I'm not the guy you fuck with. But I'm also not going to remind everybody that by being aggressive and unhinged. I'm going to stand here very confidently. I'm going to let you know what my plans are. I'm going to explain what I'm doing from an economic standpoint. I'm going to explain why I'm deporting people. I'm going to explain why I'm going to be enforcing law and order. Like I'm going to walk people through it. And I'm not just going to start being like, these are seditious traitors. It's like, if it were literally Tom Bilyeu, I would say, hey, everybody, let's talk about the face of what they said, and then let's talk about what I believe they're really trying to do. The face of what they said is they used a word to give themselves the out, which is unlawful, 100%. As a factual statement, they are accurate. Wonderful. So obviously, I'm not going to be pursuing them. They gave themselves the right amount of legal leeway, and we're a country of law and order. However, I would also like to talk about the bullshit game that they're playing, and they're making this a more divided country than they need to be, and we need to be focused on things that draw us together. They are obviously trying to drive a wedge between myself and the military. They do not believe that I have this country's best interests at heart. They think that I am a tyrant, and all of that stuff is nonsensical, and you only need to look at the way that I actually move. And I understand some of you don't like the aggressive way that we're removing people. Fair enough. As a country, let's have that debate. But trying to drive a wedge between me and the military is not only dangerous, it is flirting with sedition. And let's just not go down that path, right? And if you, I believe, if you had somebody that could present that argument over and over unflaggingly, they keep doing their thing and they keep delivering results and all of that, that to me is the kind of leader that you will never get in a populist moment. Just for the record. But that is the kind of leader that you need. It's certainly what I try to do as a CEO. And one day you guys will have to do an episode without me and people will see whether you say the same things. But my whole thing, my whole style as a CEO is I don't believe that I can see the future perfectly. So I want people to challenge my ideas and I want people to tell me, I don't need you to be delicate or anything. Just tell me if you think something is a bad idea, just say, this is a stupid idea. Here's why this is a stupid idea. That does not mean I'm going to listen to you. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go, oh, that's right. It means that I want all of the information I can get so I can see, okay, is what I'm doing actually leading us to where I want? I'm going to look at the data. I consider everything a hypothesis. I know that I'm wrong about something. I just don't know what the thing is that I'm wrong about. But I also know the other people that are challenging me, coming after me, they're also wrong about something and they don't know what they're wrong about. And so only through debating all of the different ideas can we find the best path forward. And then ultimately, it's my job, without pointing fingers at anybody else, it's my job to say, and now we're moving forward in this way. And if I can't get everybody to agree, I will say the magic words, disagree but commit. So, dear Congress, heard, thank you, registered your complaints, but we're going to have to agree to disagree. We are going to continue moving forward with this. And as long as the courts rule on my side, this is the way that it's going to be. But the second that you just start shutting dissent down, you're not going to get where you want to go. But also, dear dissenters, you're humans. Stop acting like NPCs and start realizing that if you're being divisive, that we get into this one-upsmanship. So I don't believe we can trust Trump to be a unifier. I don't think we can trust him to be quote unquote presidential, but I think there are things that he does. He's certainly bringing authority back to America on the world stage. Shutting the borders, one of the single most important things that you could do. But I also think he spends recklessly. And so it's like, it is a very mixed bag. But right now, everybody is making it worse.
So before we get to the tweet or the truth that made me miss Obama. One person in chat did say, what about the right urging disobeyment during the pandemic? Do you see a difference here between when, there was, we didn't know what the truth was about COVID, and
if people gave me a very specific example to respond to, I could tell you how I feel about the disobedience during that. In general, anytime that you try to trample on my First Amendment rights, I'm going to squawk. I'm going to encourage everyone to squawk, because that is A, going against the Constitution, and B, it is the single most dangerous thing that you can attack in the Constitution, is the ability for people to speak freely, because it is the only way to A, avoid tyranny, and B, find the right answer moving forward. But if you had the people on the right saying to the Biden administration, dear military, remember, you can ignore unlawful orders from this guy, I would have been like, what the fuck is happening? You can't do that. And I, towards the end, I was captain, like, he's not the guy running the country. So I had all kind of beefs. But even that, you have to look at, okay, the way that I'm moving, the way that I'm presenting this information, am I making things better or am I making things worse? This is why people have to know, where am I trying to get to? And then back into, do my actions actually lead us there, yes or no? If yes, do more. If no, don't. But at least if you can state what that is, then everybody can decide, is that honorable? Like, you actually pursuing something we want to see you pursue? So yeah, the COVID to me was a whole different nightmare, which I'm happy to go into as much detail as people want to go into, but it would need to be specific.
Got it. So the thing that Trump said that was really the catalyst for the fight was seditious behavior, punishable by death. Why would he say this? He already said the first post that we looked at, and now he's like, this is punishable by death. Why even send this out by itself?
Because he wants to scare them. He wants to remind them just how bad their behavior is. He's trying to show what the stakes are. He's trying to show how bad of people they are. This is populism. So this is why I absolutely despise what we're going through right now. Both sides think everything is an existential threat, and they will therefore go all the way. So yeah, this is the rhetoric of populists. It's all extreme. Lock them up, charge them with treason, which is punishable by death. I mean, it is all as if they do not understand how their words affect the country. And behaviors. It's really sad. And given that I believe that humans are programmed by nature, by God, the Matrix, however you want to think about it, but we're all programmed. Given that we are programmed, there are knowable loops that we're going to go in based on a given setup. So if you're in a certain moment like we're in now, terrifyingly weak economy, massive inequality, wealth inequality, a divided nation in terms of populism, and then you get politicians with rhetoric like this, what has happened historically? You get political violence, so people start getting assassinated. You get violence in terms of clashes between the two sides within the country. Your economy tends to just absolutely begin to crater because everyone's just fighting over a dwindling pie. And so you start printing money like mad because it's the only way to give everybody what they want. You become pathologically incapable of balancing the budget, which drives wealth inequality again because people don't understand the economy, which just absolutely breaks my heart. And you end up here. And so it's like, oh yeah, people can give you the metrics. Hey, don't cross 130% debt to GDP because that tends to be where people's psychology breaks. And so be careful. And even though we can look back in history and go, oh, like this happens over and over and over and over and over. Don't do that. We're still doing it. It's wild. So yeah.
You go down that road and it feels like we're facing entropy with no way to stop it. And so when I hear that, I just think like, is this just physics? Is this just the way that it is?
This is literally physics, yes. The human mind works in a certain way. And so the loop is all but guaranteed. And it's fascinating to look at Japan and like, why does Japan defy it? Because there are reasons. There are knowable reasons. There's no mystery. That's the great news. So we don't have to look at that and go, oh, like, see this 130 debt to GDP thing? It doesn't matter. It's like, yes, it does. Let me explain why. That's still like a thing you can point at and be like, okay, well, you can cross it if you do these things, which we are not doing. And therefore, we will not be protected. So yes, it is physics. This is why the more I try to map this all from cause and effect, I'm like, what's the weather like in Singapore?
So you can move there.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I know you're not.
Because once it becomes inevitable, where it's like, oh, this wave is going to crash, there's, I don't think, any sort of honor in just standing there and letting the wave.
Is there like an
demolish
early
it.
warning sign?
You're in it, all of them. What you're seeing, that tweet is the early warning sign you're looking for.
With you. Okay, so that tweet sparked a lot of controversy. Here's the press secretary responding to the press.
Nancy. Thanks, Caroline. This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to
Let me guess. She's going to be aggressive and on the side of Trump. Let's see.
execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting
Her skirt was short, bro.
of the United States
How could he have done
Congress
anything else?
who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's
Guy just beat his
lawful
wife.
orders.
Yeah, but what
the
did she say?
sanctity of our military rests
Bro,
on the
this
chain
is
of
where we're
command.
at.
And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3
Not wrong
active
about
duty
that.
service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos, and it could incite violence, and it
All
certainly
true.
could disrupt the chain of command. These 3 members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Alyssa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer, and notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
But the president...
Yeah. Yep. Yup. So there we have it. It is, nobody is trying to find that common ground, that path forward. And yeah, you can just map this out. It's going to keep going. There has to be a pattern interrupt. Something has to come in and interrupt this. It could be just horrific economic times. It could be China moves on Taiwan and that ends up making big enough waves. It could be AI. That is probably my most
And those
likely
would
candidate.
be big enough to make what happen?
You have to either if the economy turns around and everybody feels rich, then it all goes away instantly. It is so wild. This is just an economic problem. So if everybody feels like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to buy that thing that I want, my kids' lives are going to be better, this is awesome, then all of this goes away. And that's why wealth inequality is the thing that you look at, because what ends up happening is the elites, the people that run the country, it's so funny, like actually understanding why elites have a category, why it's a thing, James Burnham, you begin to realize it's a very real phenomenon. So the elites, the people that are the ones making videos saying, hey, it's okay to ignore unlawful orders, everything's great for them. They're doing wonderfully. And so they'll hear from their constituents distantly over the train tracks, hey, things over here kind of suck. And they're like, yeah, we got you, don't worry. But things are going so well for them, they can't internalize it. And they also can't map the cause and effect. And so they're not scared. So they don't understand, like, legitimately, dear elites, hang a painting of Marie Antoinette in your house, please. And you need to be remembered that you need to be a servant leader. You need to make sure that things are good for them. And just from a purely selfish standpoint, if you want to sell things to them, like imagine for a second, if you will, Mason, indulge me. You run a plantation.
Okay.
And you've got all these slaves on your plantation. And they're harvesting for you like crazy. And you're like, you need to bring me my shit. And so they start bringing you all your stuff. And then one day you realize, I've like beaten them a little too much. And now like they're bringing me all of it. And I can see that they're getting leaner and skinnier and they're getting hungrier. And I'm like, oh God, like this is now creating a problem. Sure, I can live fat and happy in the house, but if you all starve to death, I'm fucked. So I don't understand how people cannot get through their thick skulls that you are putting yourself in that position. First of all, the number of them that will allow themselves to be starved to death is vanishingly small. So then people are going to start rushing the house. So then I got to start killing a bunch of them just to like send a message. And then you have like mass death, which I guess some people seem fine with. Russia, I'm looking at you. China, I'm looking at you. But I'm sure as hell not. So I don't know what the fuck, man. The people will come for you. They will literally come for your head. They will literally detach it. These are not metaphors. So thriving middle class, boys and girls. Thriving middle class. And yeah, nobody seems to get you gotta fix the economy. So if you fix the economy, everything else slots back in place. But fixing the economy means that your people have work. They feel a sense of meaning and purpose. They are generating their own income. There are not a bunch of people sucking at the teat of government that otherwise can and should be working. That you're not doing everything you can to just make things infinitely cheaper by importing labor or exporting jobs, which is all we have done for like the last 30 or 40 years. So it's like all of these things are noble. Anybody paying attention knows the beginning of it's really awesome. It works really well. Debt in the beginning is awesome. And if everybody could go like, hey, we can do a little bit of debt, it's really amazing, but we can't do a lot, the system would work forever. What modern monetary theory does not take into consideration is that humans tend towards corruption. And so if they like a little bit of it, then they're going to go for a whole lot of it. We don't account for the 600-pound person who fuses with their couch when we start making food abundant. And I mean that as a metaphor for money. Once you start making money easy, people they can't foresee that they'll just abuse it and 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 abuse it just to gain and retain power. So that's exactly what happens.
All right, let's get back to the fight with Senator Slotkin coming in with her response to being called seditious.
Go
back to the beginning.
Former CIA officer. Earlier today, President Trump threatened myself and a number of other service and veteran lawmakers with arrest, trial, and death because he didn't agree with a video we put out this week. This really isn't about those of us who made the video. This is about who we are as Americans and how we're going to engage with people who we disagree with. I would hope that people of all backgrounds, Democrat, Republican, Independent, would agree that threatening death for people you disagree with is beyond the pale of who we are as Americans. I love this country. It has given me everything, everything. And I refuse to believe that this is the new normal. I refuse to believe that we're going to use fear and intimidation against people we disagree with. And I'm not going to be forced away from speaking up on behalf of my country. I swore an oath to the Constitution many times, most recently less than a year ago as a senator. To the Constitution, not to any one man, not to any one president. And I abide by that oath. For me, I believe in the power of this country and that we are better than our current politics represent. And I refuse to be intimidated out of defending the country I love.
So, how do you feel about the position that these people are in?
Who are these people?
The her and the other Congress people?
Well, I feel that what everybody should be focused on is I need to generate legislation and PR, propaganda, whatever you want to think of it, that's actually going to move the country in the direction that we need it to move. I think that they are so bad at identifying where the country actually needs to end up. I think they are all team ball players. And so they don't think, what's actually good for the masses? They think, what's going to get me reelected? They think, there's shelter in being a part of a party. And then once I'm a part of a party, then I need to think and act in a way that's going to keep me in the good graces of the party. And the bad news is they're not wrong. To gain power, it's all a mind game. And it's horrific. But I don't expect anything differently from them. Like I said, humans are programmed. Humans are going to do what humans are going to do. These moments are so predictable. And that's why I say only growth or pain is going to pull us out of this trap. Yeah.
And then how serious of a situation do you think that they're in with Trump is saying this is punishable by death? Do you think that that's actually, they're in a dangerous position now? This is becoming a serious problem? Or is this just both sides are having very inflammatory rhetoric?
We have enough breaks in the system. I don't expect this to go anywhere, but this is a step on the escalation ladder. So we've been seeing it since Trump got into politics. We've seen a lot of attempts to do things that I would say are immoral at best, illegal at worst, to try to stop and derail his presidency. And so that's created all this insane lawfare. I think basically all of the lawfare is absolutely horrible. But nonetheless, you're going to get it. You're going to get it in spades. And they're creating the existential threat, because as you go after your opponent, when that person gains power, they're going to go after their opponents. And then it really does become they've already said if the Republicans lose at the midterms, that they are going to impeach Trump. And so it's just going to be a non-starter. They're just going to be on him all the time like they were in his first term. And it gets very difficult for him to get anything done. So any rational person is going to be like, because everyone views themselves as a savior, if we're actually going to save this country, then we've got to make sure that we retain power. And so given that they're going to do things that will derail and be bad for the country, then, oh God, if we have to do a little bit of bad stuff to make sure that we stay in power, then so be it. So that's what I think. You need somebody that's like, I'm not going to play team ball. That doesn't make any sense. I'm here for Americans, and I'll continue, instead of just giving you relentless propaganda, I'm going to walk you through exactly how we get there. The bad news is that's me glitching in my own, I need to respect myself. That's my first thing. And so I have a value system that would force me to do that, but I don't think it's effective politically. And so that's the worst part. That's why, when you really look at the thinking from first principles, what's the cause and effect here, you realize the person that's probably winning from a reality standpoint is George Soros. And Soros understands economics so well that he can go in and manipulate markets, win based on those manipulations, leverage that money to influence politics slowly over time at the local level, and it ends up just being really effective. So it's okay, what do you do with that when it's the very thing that's effective is the thing, for me, that is just anathema. I'll never do it. I'm not interested. I will happily slide into irrelevance. Doesn't fucking matter. If that were the only path forward, I'd be like, somebody else has to do it. I'm just not interested in that.
So coming back to what Trump said, Mike Johnson spoke up to defend him, saying that Trump was simply defining the crime of sedition.
Yep, that's just as stupid. So, sure, Trump was reminding us all that it's punishable by death as a way to define it. He could have literally put sedition, noun, and literally just defined it. And you would still be like, why are you doing that? To what end? Right? If, let's say that I'm really with the weird ones today, but let's say that you've got a husband that has beat his wife with a belt a lot, and they're in an argument. He stays super calm, but he's just he's taking off his belt. He gets out the oil and he starts polishing the belt. Is she supposed to pretend she doesn't get it? So it's come on, man. This is, yeah. everybody's hiding behind, well, like I didn't say the actual bad thing. Yes, I get it, but I'm not going to pretend that I don't know what you're doing. In fact, Mason, can I confess something here?
Absolutely.
So when I go into Hollywood, right? So sell Quest, whole goal is to get into Hollywood. And I get an agent and I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going to make my reputation in Hollywood by being the guy that just says the truth. So whatever's true, I'm going to tell you right there in the meeting. There's not going to be any of this. My people will talk to your people, any of that. I'm like, I can't do it constitutionally. I fucking hate it. It not interesting to me at all. And so I'm like, we're going to find out if this works. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. And so I remember the guys that were representing me, we'd have meeting after meeting. And in the meetings, they would pitch me like these business ideas. Like there was this big African telecom thing. Tom, we're going to get your content on these phones, preloaded, like it's going to be incredible. Millions of views, man. You're going to love it. And so they're like, just let us know what you think. I'm like, I love it. Let's do it. 100%. I'm in. If you need me, I didn't say words like this. I said these exact words. If you need me to fly to Africa, whatever, to meet with the telecoms, like I'm down to do it. Like, let's go. Amazing. A month later, come back. Hey, we've got this African telecom thing, really looking good. Just want to know what you think about it. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Guys, we've had this conversation before. Again, not words like this, these exact words. I'm getting confused, guys. We've had this conversation before. I told you in the last meeting exactly this. I'm like, I will fly to Africa. I will do whatever we need to do. So if you're waiting for magic words for me to say, these are the magic words. Now, what I finally realize is they're fishing for me to fund it. But they never say, hey, to do this, we just need 10 million bucks. So I start just asking, guys, are you trying to fundraise off of me? Do you want me to invest in this? Is that where this is going? Like, what is the thing that you're not saying? Because I keep telling, again, not words like this, these exact words. I keep telling you, I'm ready to go. I will get on a plane. You can have the content. I will pick the episodes right now. I will get them to you today. What are we holding on? Whole dynamic in the room changes. They suddenly get very quiet. And I'm like, this is going to be the last time I hear from them. They're my official representation. And I'm like, I guarantee I never hear from them again. They walk out the door. I never hear from them again. And I'm like, this is so wild. Like there's something where people don't want to say the real thing. And it is so they were so aghast that I would just be like, guys, if I'm writing you as characters in a story right now, you have to be trying to get money out of me. Otherwise, none of this makes sense. They can't have it be said.
And they didn't double down? Yeah, we want your money.
No. They're like, no, that's not what this is at all. We just wanted to get a sense of where you're at. And now this is where I can be a little pathological. And I was like, there's no way that's true. False. Stop. No. I was like, we have had this conversation now 3 or 4 times. And every time you say, we just want to know what you think about this. And every time I say, I'm in, I'll do it. So I'm like, either this isn't real and it's not as far along as you would have me believe, or you're trying to get me to fund this. I'm like, hey, whichever it is, I just want to know what's actually happening so that we can find a path forward. They couldn't do it. They could not have the real thing talked about. There had to be this weird layer of obfuscation for them to be comfortable. So I'm like, listen, if you're just trying to keep me excited about you've got big ideas or something, and I'm like, if that works normally with clients, I'm like, I don't need that. I'm not that guy. I just want to know what's real. Where are we? Oh my God, it was maddening. So this is people saying a thing without saying a thing. And to actually move forward, you just have to pull the real thing into the light. But the problem is what they've all learned is you can't manipulate people like that. And if this is a game of gaining and retaining power, it's all about narrative control. And that's why I'm saying this moment is so unique because you're not going to be able to control the narrative. You can control the narrative in a really narrow, deep way. You can no longer control the narrative in a broad way. And so we're about to find out what happens to the world when you cannot control the narrative in a broad way. Because you're going to have a whole bunch of people, some that'll take a Candace Owens approach. I'll let you guys decide what she's doing, but holy Jesus. That just feels like you've got somebody that has conspiratorial leanings and they see connections where there are no connections, and they just go ham, and they're totally untethered from reality. And then you're going to have people like me that like don't put any layer of like the social lubricant of like, oh, like, you know, my people call your people. And you know that really means no. And I'm just like, wait, that's the no kill switch. So I just want to better understand like where we're at, and people can't do it. So yeah, it is going to be strange times, my friend. It is going to be strange times. But this is a horse I will ride until the legs fall off, till it dies of thirst. I don't know how you finish that analogy, but I will ride in this vehicle till the wheels fall off. Yeah. So, but it does not strike me as high utility given what I know about humans, but it is ultra high utility when your North Star is self-respect. So it's, and you have my value system, because obviously not everybody shares my value system. So it is very weird. This moment is so jarring for me because I can make all the charts and I can say, you're driving off a fiscal cliff. When you drive off that fiscal cliff, there will be blood in the streets. It will go on for at least a decade, maybe more. You potentially are facing 100 years as an economic backwater. You can become Venezuela just as fast as Venezuela became Venezuela. And it's knowable, it's stoppable, but what I know about humans tells me you're not going to stop. It's wild. All right, I'm going to take a sip of water here.
Just keep driving off the cliff. All right, going back to the senators saying you can refuse unlawful orders. We have a judge ruling that Trump's D.C. National Guard deployment was illegal. What are your initial thoughts on that, especially given the political discourse around?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be, this is going to be one that for people will seem like I'm breaking my own rules because I am admittedly very afraid of authoritarian governments.
Interesting.
Law and order's got to come first, and you cannot have laws that you're not enforcing. And so looking at a lot of the things that are going on in terms of like what's happening in Chicago, that's wild. I don't know if you saw the footage of the mom and her kid getting attacked by like a bunch of, I think they're just other students at the school. Now, listen, I don't know the context. Maybe that mom is the most horrible person on planet Earth, but it looked bad. Like a mob of what looked like teenagers basically back this mother and her probably 11-year-old kid up against the fence, and they all just started like punching on her, knocking her down, kicking her. It was super wild. And so you're seeing, I'll just round it to lawlessness in a lot of places. If Trump wants to use a band of ninjas to go into an area and get law and order, or he wants to use the US military, I don't care. You have to have law and order. So that's a personal me thing. I'm not asking anybody else to be on board with that. Obviously, it needs to pass legal scrutiny. I am coming to realize that we've got a lot of activist judges, so I want to wait till things go to the Supreme Court, see what the Supreme Court rules. If the Supreme Court says you can't do it, then I'll be like, well, you can't do it. But in terms of do I like it? Yes. I want to see places be safe. I want to see everybody feel like my neighborhood is worth investing in because it's not going to be torn apart. I want people to understand you get food deserts because it's not economically viable to have a store in that area, not because anybody's being cruel. If there were an economic opportunity there, as evidenced by everything that Magic Johnson did back in like the 80s and 90s, people will get their amazing stuff. But if those neighborhoods then don't have law and order and people are allowed to run riot, and you see that the only people in your neighborhood that do well are the people that go rob, then you end up spreading a culture of stupidity that ends up holding your own neighborhood back. People don't want economics to be the engine of everything, but economics are the engine of everything. Economics is a result of the human psyche. And so people need to understand that. Money is not a law of nature. It's a law of the human psyche. And so once you understand that, oh, this is about the way the human mind works, that's when you know, oh, socialism could never work. Communism could never work. Got it, because it expects people to work for free. It expects people to only take exactly what they need and to leave some for others and to take less than they need if other people are in need. People don't do that. They go, my kid's going to survive and fuck you. And so let's say that there's not enough food to go around and 1,000 people need to die. I will tell you right now, people don't go, take one of my kids. I have 8. They go, all 8 of my kids are making it. That's humans. And so, and by the way, would we not respect that? I would. If I have 8 kids, all 8 kids of mine are making it through. That's what it is.
So what the judge said was that Trump lacks the authority to send in troops for the deterrence of crime. And it seems like he's like testing the waters. I feel like this is the most I've ever heard about judges ruling on executive orders and things that a president has done. Is he like testing the edges of what he can do to try?
For sure. He would be king if people let him be. And I mean that sincerely. If people came to him and said, listen, like George Washington before you, you're the only one. And we want a king. We want you as king. And we trust you. We trust your family. Like, we tried the Democratic thing. And now, like, it got us here. And we're thankful for that. But this moment requires you. And we only trust you to pick the next person. He would 100% go, I got to do it. You guys asked, I'm here for it. And there is a type of person, we know because George Washington literally did it, there is a type of person that holds the ring of power and goes, nah, this shit's way too dangerous. And they just hand it back and go, it's about the country. It is about a system of governance that will protect itself from the nature of humans. And so, yeah, I'm going to hand the ring of power back. He's not a hand the ring of power back guy. He's a clutch that motherfucker as tightly as you can. And P.S., I believe that he believes he really knows best. That's the scary part, is people don't distrust themselves. So is he testing the edges of what he can do? Yes. Will some of the things that he do yield a good result? Yes. Will some of them yield just absolute catastrophe? Yes.
Do you think he has a goal with testing the edges? Like, I'm going to see how this works.
I think he wants everybody to fall in line with him. I think he wants everybody to do exactly what Trump says as fast as humanly possible. And he believes if they do that, that he can return the economy to a thriving state. And the crazy thing is, it might be true. The bad news is that's tyranny, and it ends badly, not most of the time, every time. So you just can't do it. Even though there will be occasionally where somebody is so right about what needs to happen that they will execute well. But the other reality is that they might be right about 1 out of 1,000 things, but the other 999, they're wrong. And so they need people to push back on them, and they won't have it because they will have clutched the ring of power, and that's that. So this is why we have the system that we have with checks and balances and all of that. But we have lost something culturally. I just watched a video this morning where a guy was sawing through a charging station to steal the copper wire. He got electrocuted and died, and the family sued them. And in the courtroom, they said, and I quote, he was just trying to steal something and you electrocuted him. And I thought, wow, how do you get yourself to say that sentence? Like, they didn't electrocute him. It's not like they ran out with jumper cables and were like, hey, motherfucker. Zzz. He was sawing through things and electrocuted his own dumbass. And the fact that he was stealing in the first place is a problem. So yeah, we've gone somewhere. Oh, also, we might want to pull this one up. I think I even put like, this is my own particular type of rage bait, where people just really are okay not working. Oh, it was the one where they said Elon Musk doesn't have work ethic.
Yeah.
This goes right to my G spot. This is like a fist upon my G spot. This is, dude, this shit winds me up so much. I do not understand, but it triggers I love it and I hate it all at the same time.
And so
I don't know, how do people get themselves here?
Any school teacher has more work ethic in their pinky finger than Elon Musk has in his entire body.
Yeah.
And then Chris Back went off and just said, when I reported to Elon, he would have X product meetings at 5 or 6 p.m. because he was with Tesla team or 10 hours before that. Then my one-on-one check-in with Elon would be at 10 p.m., but that would regularly get moved to 11 p.m. or midnight or 1 a.m. Usually around 2 a.m., he'd go nap for a couple of hours, do the whole thing again with a different set of companies the next day, 7 days a week. That's insane.
Insane.
I think about that, and I just think by the end of 1 week, I would be completely manic.
Yeah. Dude, it is, I don't understand how you can criticize Elon for a million things, but work ethic is not one of them. And we really have, as a country, we've become focused on like, you're owed something instead of like, listen, getting tough, getting hardcore, being disciplined, being hardworking. These things will carry you far in life. And culturally, that's what I want to see us get back to. And look, it wound me up that my dad raised me like the Karate Kid, where it was literally constantly, every summer since I was 12, I had to have a job. I worked in a door factory, paint warehouse, paint store. I was doing minor construction, very minor, but minor construction one summer. It's like, bro, and my dad, we used to have to chop and carry wood all the time. For half of my youth, we heated our house with a wood stove. And so it was, you went and you would drive up into the mountains, you would find a fallen tree, and you yourself would cut it up, chop it up, haul it, bring it home. And then every night it was like the kids had to go get the wood. And so you'd go out to the wood stack, grab wood, carry it inside, getting like pitch and shit all over your hands. And my dad was like, this is going to build character. And I remember it, dude, it used to make me so mad to have to do all that stuff. Like literally, you have no prefrontal cortex as a kid. So just like, I'm just pure id, just pure emotion, anger, frustration. And then flash forward, I'm at Quest. A semi truck full of our equipment shows up and they open the door and they're like, how you guys going to unload this? And we're like, can't you back up to the loading dock? And they're like, no, it doesn't fit. So we're like, oh shit, how are we going to get this off the loading dock? And one of my partners goes, man, like if only we knew how to drive a forklift. And I was like, guys, I'm a certified forklift driver. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I've worked in so many like factories and warehouses through my youth that I used to drive forklift all the time. And because we were at the time running a software company. And so they're like, what are the odds? Like, that's so weird.
Pays to have many lives.
Yeah. And so we go over to our neighbor in the industrial park and I'm like, hey, listen, I've driven forklift a gazillion times. Can we borrow your forklift? And they're like, yeah, sure. And so I end up unloading all the equipment. And my partner was filming and I look at the camera and I said, Dad, wax on, wax off. I was like, I cannot believe that I know how to do this. It was the most wild shit ever. And then, I mean, just in terms of discipline, I'm not going to claim like Elon's on a whole nother planet. I did 120 hours a week for 8 months and started getting vertigo. So, yeah, I clearly have a physical limit, but like, I want people not to work themselves into the ground. That's not what I'm saying. I want people to understand how resilient they are, how strong they are, and to want to bring that out of themselves. I mean, I got to give a shout out to One Piece. Like I love so much that like there's a character in it, name is Zoro. He's a sword fighter. He loses a fight and his response is, I'm not tough enough yet. And so I've got to go get stronger. Same character ends up getting like frozen in wax at one point. And he's like, this is a really weird angle, but I should be able to cut myself out of this and I can't. And so I've got to get stronger. And then also parents are going to hate this one. Same character, same moment. In fact, he's like, well, if I can't cut the wax, then I'll cut my own foot off. And I was like, this is gangster. I love this so much. So, yeah, I want people to have that belief in themselves. Like, I'm not saying like you want to shove this down from the top. You want to inspire that kind of self-belief in people that like, there's nothing that can stop me. I can go all the way. A failure, I'm looking at myself. And I believe, I can just get stronger. So it's not some permanent state of affair. I'm not forever destined to be a guy that can't do rad things. I can go get stronger, but I'm going to have to train. I'm going to have to grind. I'm going to have to put myself through something that is very difficult. I used to think about this a lot in the gym. You have to put yourself in a position where it's adapt or die. And it's a weird thing to say to yourself, but once you realize, oh, I can do this, it is not going to be easy, and I have to give my body the impulse. You either keep up with me being like the will that exists inside of this body, or I will break you. And I don't want people to get pathological. And of course, you need to understand the difference between injury and progress. But man, at some point, you've just got to be willing to do the thing that other people are not willing to do. You've got to push through the hardship and all of that, and the liberation that's on the other side of that. And good luck convincing people of that. Like, good luck convincing people. No, I know it sucks right now, but oh my God, on the other side of this, when you look at yourself and you're like, oh, you can't be broken. That's where it's like, yo, there is really something in that. That period where I was working 120 hours a week, it was the most stressful, the most grueling period of my life, pure insanity. And on the other side of it, and by the way, for my wife, that's the hardest part of our marriage. And it's a weird disconnect for us, because for her, she has scar tissue around it, because almost nothing existed to me except work. And I was so stressed, I'm sure it was not fun to be around. So for her, scar tissue. For me, it's like one of the glowing orbs of things that I earned my own self-respect around. Because one, the team had no idea that I was going through it when I was going through it, because I could just keep marching forward. And then two, I was like, oh, I really can't be broken. And that was awesome. It wasn't fun, but coming out the other side and intentionally pulling myself out of it, by the way, going, okay, this has become a problem. I have to unwind this. So also being able to recognize that, effectively pull myself out of it. All of it. Oh God, it was just like,
talk more about that. What was that process of pulling noticing you were doing a thing that had a goal attached to it, it started to become detrimental, and then you had to pull yourself out of it. And then what was that withdrawal? And did you go through I hate that I have to do this, or? No.
So, everybody, this is why I'm such a big fan of marriage. So my wife knows that she is my protector from protecting me from myself. And so when I decided I was going to get lean, I said to her, I have the discipline to be the world's greatest anorexic. And so I need you to have a chip that you can just play and say, this is now a problem. And so we did that, and I got down to probably 8 or 9% body fat, lean as hell. It was awesome. But she's like, you don't have a personality anymore. You're just hungry all the time. So chip laid. And I was like, cool. And then immediately normalized, no problem. The work thing, she knew what I was trying to achieve. She knew the stress that I was under. And so she let it go for a long time. And then she came and said, for the second time in our marriage, you're now damaging our marriage. And so I was like, cool, you're the chip. And I said, I will find my way back to you, and I will start the process of unwinding this now. It's going to take a minute. I can't just stop not lose the business. So I can't just stop, but I will find my way back to you. And it probably took me another, 2.5 months, but was able to build systems, realizing that humans don't scale infinitely, that you will hit, because I thought I had a brain tumor from the vertigo. And so I went and was getting all these scans and trying to figure out what's going on. And they're like, no, we don't see anything in the scans. And then after all this testing and all this crazy shit, the guy was like, are you by any chance stressed right now? And I was like, and just was in hysterics. And I'm like, yeah, you could say that. He was like, oh, it could just be stress. And I was like, okay, if I'm now to the point where I'm afraid I'm going to fall over when I stand up, I lay in bed and the room just starts spinning, I'm like, this is my body telling me something. So that made it very easy to just say, yeah, okay, I've got to stop. But building the processes took time.
All right, so we've painted kind of a big tapestry covering this topic of the service members in Congress, talking about unlawful orders. You can disobey them. Do me a favor, compress it to a JPEG. What is happening in this moment with that, and what do people need to take away from it for themselves to understand what's
okay. What happens is the economy splits in two. The rich think everything is fine and they're getting richer. The people that don't own assets are getting poorer by the day, but they don't understand why. But they can see the rich people, especially with Instagram. So they're like, you guys are evil. You're taking from me. I don't understand that. And so you get this rise of populism. Populism is very simple. I am on a team, and I'm only going to vote for people that will take from the other team to give to me. Both sides do it. And so you get into team ball that's based on anxiety, the anxiety over their economic future. No one wants to sit in anxiety, so they transmute that anxiety into anger. And so now they hate the other side. They believe the other side must be stopped at all costs. They believe the pie is dwindling, and they want to make sure they get a bigger piece of their pie, bigger piece of the pie for their side, because their side's the righteous side. And so they begin to keep racing away from each other. And because they all believe that the pie is shrinking, they just start making really stupid economic decisions. More free stuff, more free stuff, more free stuff. And you start promising people free stuff. And the only way to pay for that free stuff is to print money. But the problem is the printing money hurts the people that it's supposed to help. And it helps the people that it's supposed to hurt. And it's just this wild self-reinforcing flywheel. So they really do get into the back and forth battle. It begins to escalate with things like lawfare. And so now it actually is existential. And so now they're really going after each other. And that just increases everybody's anxiety, which then gets transmuted into more anger. And so you just spiral, spiral, spiral. And until you solve the economic cause, it's just like everything that you try is just chemotherapy. You haven't actually gotten rid of the cancer. You're just battering the immune system in a hopes to diminish the cancer. But if your cancer is caused because you live in a radioactive wasteland, you might get that tumor, but it's just going to spread because you haven't gotten rid of the thing that caused the cancer in the first place. And that cancer is caused by economics. And because economics is just confusing enough that people don't understand it, and then it's largely influenced by belief that everything is fine, you get this game. And then, just to make this moment extra spicy, you have two things. You have AI, which is going to take a whole bunch of jobs. Maybe it creates more, but it's definitely going to take, and that's going to cause a lot of people to be anxious because they won't easily be able to switch over. Even if we end up creating more jobs, that only helps kids. That does not help people that are 45 that don't know how to do the new jobs. So, and it takes kids time to work their way into the system. So you have a generation that will just be disenfranchised. So no matter what, Industrial Revolution, all of that, ends up working out better. So even if you have that vision of where we're headed, as the Industrial Revolution showed us, you go through the moments where everybody wants communism, socialism. There's a reason that this is when this rose up the last time. And then eventually the kids come into power and they love the new stuff and all the new jobs and all that, and yay. But until then, and then the other is we are a declining superpower and China is a rising superpower. And so you have Thucydides' trap. All right, that's the, would you call it the GIF?
The JPEG.
The JPEG, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for compressing it. All right, now let's talk about who's to blame for this gasoline-soaked political landscape.
Schumer.
Chuck Schumer.
When Donald Trump uses the language of execution and treason, some of his supporters may very well listen. He is lighting a match in a country soaked with political gasoline.
So, as I said, Andrew, we are now...
Yeah. I'm always like, do they not see that they're doing it too? They're right about Trump, but do they not see that they're doing it too? Or are they just like, nah, I've got to frame it this way? I honestly don't know. I imagine some of them do, some of them don't. I imagine some of them see part of how they contribute to the problem and not the other, and that they rationalize it away by saying, but we are the righteous party, and so we have to do this for the sake of the world. So that's where my core message is, don't trust yourself so much. Don't trust yourself so much. Everybody trusts themselves. It is a mistake, but they do it anyway. Who's really to blame? The human psyche is to blame, because when things go good for a while, people get confused and they think that prosperity is a law. It just happens. They don't realize you have to fight for it every day. And so slowly it works its way into the culture that I should just be getting these things. I should not have to work for this. And that's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's self-destructive, but nonetheless, it does happen every single time. And every single time governments realize that you can debase your currency, it's crazy. Like humans are very good at exploiting systems. And that's why, like, if we weren't good at exploiting systems, if we couldn't figure out the loopholes or the ways to take advantage of it, some of these things might last longer. But the problem is we see exactly like it happens in video games. People will, if you've ever heard of the concept of a meta, right, in a video game, people will figure it out, then they'll disseminate it, and then everybody just does that. And part of the reason that games tend to change once a quarter is because once the meta gets established, the meta's boring. Everybody's just like, there's no real choice of weapons. You have to play like this. Otherwise, you're going to lose to the people that understand the meta. And so they're just constantly changing the meta. And life is like that. And the Fed sort of tries to change the meta. It's wild. But you just end up in the world's most predictable loops because humans will always exploit the system. And so it always ends up crumbling under its own weight. But like that sounds vague. What it crumbles under is debt and money printing. That's it. That is the entire phenomenon. And then all the fascinating ways that it ripples through the culture, those are far harder to predict, but it is debt and money printing. Full stop.
Got you. All right. Today, the communist mayor of New York City, in Donald Trump's words, Zoran Mamdani is meeting with Trump.
At the White House. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Do we know what time? I want to watch this shit.
I was curious about the same thing. Maybe we can find it. But what do you hope is going to come out of this?
Ooh, this is where I have to set my emotions aside because I have feelings about this. What do I hope comes of it?
I want some of the emotion too, though. Give me some of it.
Oh, God. Because it is so murderous. The socialism and communism are by their nature murderous, but yet people constantly come back to it because it sounds so good that this is my rage bait. And I know it. I know I fall for it and I get sucked into it. But it's people that are both historically and economically illiterate. And so that drives me crazy because they could avail themselves of the information and they don't. And they use it just to gain power. And it is so, it's coming from a place of envy and bitterness. And so that also winds me up. So I look at him and I'm just like, oh, he says all the right things, but he sounds really dumb to me. So the clip where he's like being asked like, hey, Governor Holcomb says she's not going to raise taxes. You've always said the way to pay for the free buses is with taxes. If you're not going to get the tax money, what do you do? And he says, oh, it doesn't matter how we pay for it. It just matters that we pay for it. And it's like, what? Dude,
Here,
that's so dumb. So yeah, here we go. You can hear it straight from his own mouth.
Many times that you don't want to take money away from the MTA. You want to put money back in. It's something that she agrees with, right? We don't want to take away money from the MTA. How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MTA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made. Whether it's the corporate tax or whether it's the personal income tax on those who make more than $1 million a year or more, I think that these are the clearest ways. I've also said that if there are other ways to raise this funding, the most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we do it, but that we do it.
And the other one, you're talking about fast and free.
So again, he's speaking very calmly. He sounds very savvy. Like you've got to give this young man his due. He is extremely good at presenting himself. He's obviously very bright. And that's why I'm like, okay, run the cause and effect. Like what? Like if he could detail for me, why did Mao's China fail? Why did Lenin's Russia fail? Why did Stalin's Russia fail? Why is Venezuela failing? Like, why did Argentina fail? But the thing is, that I get, fair. But if you would please, walk me through the cause and effect of why they did fail. Because what you're trying to get him to is the realization that this is all human psychology. People won't work for free. And because people won't work for free, you can't give things away that are free. And so then it's like, well, but bro, we'll just take from the people that are wealthy. And it's like, okay, play that out. Why hasn't that worked historically? And if he can get to, oh, I get it. They finally get to the point where they're like, no, I'm not going to let you tax me anymore. So there will be no end to the amount of money you need, but there will be an end to the amount of money that you can make. And the realization you want him to come to is, oh shit. So eventually we're going to have to force them to give up their money. Correct. And how are you going to do that? Well, we're not going to let them leave the country. We're going to confiscate their wealth. Okay, how do you think they're going to react to that? They're either going to flee the country or they're going to stop producing. Then what happens? Now these people still need money. So what are you going to do? Are you going to start forcing people to work? And then all of a sudden you realize, oh yeah, that's exactly what you have to do. The producers stop producing, but you still have a need. So then you have to force everybody to work for free. Watch the movie about Tetris. Forget the name of it, but utterly fascinating. The Russian guy creates what is arguably the highest selling game of all time. And he himself makes no money off of it whatsoever, because the Russian government is so opposed to capitalism. And this is at a time where the country is just like in the grips of poverty. It's about to collapse. I mean, it's so wild. And people think they're up against like greedy capitalists and all that stuff. And it's like, no, greed is part of an algorithm that runs in the human mind, but you can actually hijack the greed algorithm to get people to innovate and create the incredible modern world that we see. But you have to understand how to do it. But they don't, and they're either blind to their own envy, or they just don't care. And they're like, yeah, but it's useful to go and get the things that I want. So also people should look at Lee Kuan Yew. So part of what made Lee Kuan Yew so dope was he was like, I want to get a bunch of cool shit for me. So I'm going to put myself at the level of the average person in Singapore. And so I only get what the average person in Singapore gets. And then it's like, yeah, cool. Now we can tap into Lee Kuan Yew's selfishness, and he's going to do all the things that are good for the country. But just beware. He said, I will fight to the death against communists. So Lee Kuan Yew was not for fucking play. Like that kid was like, fuck you unions, fuck communists, hell no. So all of these things are trade-offs.
Here's the press secretary responding to the press.
Thank you, Caroline. Is there anything that Mayor-elect Mamdani could say tomorrow that would ease the president's concerns about his future leadership in New York?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president or get ahead of this meeting that we are currently working on tomorrow. As you saw, the president put out a statement tomorrow that the mayor-elect will be coming to the Oval Office, and so our teams are arranging those details. I won't get into the president's thinking on it. I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House, because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very...
That last point is the thing that gets me, is where she's like, it's crazy that there's a communist coming to the White House. And to me, even it's like, growing up, it was like the communists are like the guys over in Russia who were bad. And
they are the guys over in
Russia
who are bad, by the way.
Here. And that's so weird to me. How does that strike you?
Horrifically. But you can follow the cause and effect. When you ask for the JPEG, that's exactly what I'm walking through. People get to the point where they don't understand the system, but they know the system's broken. Anybody that says that Zoran Mamdani is not a communist, can we agree that he was a communist? Like, I assume people will give me that anybody that posts sees the means of production is a communist. And so I would say optically reformed communist, but yeah, anyway, you're not going to get me to consciously stop saying that. Like the algorithm that runs in my brain is communist, socialist. To me, those are the exact same thing. Just as you watch it play out in history, they will often start by saying socialist, but for the reasons that I just laid out, it is on a flywheel of it goes to communism. It has to go to communism, just to be very clear, because people will push back against it. You can't have the pushback. So anyway, doesn't matter. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time debating that. But if people want, I'm not accidentally saying that. It is a cause and effect scenario. So, okay. How does it make me, or what do I think about that? I think that we have to fix the economy, because the one thing that would be ill-advised is to just go, what's the matter with kids today? They're just all the problem. No. You gave them a system that is so fucked up, and you let ideology run the schools for so long that they've been taught that communism, socialism equals good. They've been taught that ambition is whiteness or whatever stupidity. And so if you inculcate all of that into them, and then they go out into the job market and they can make a ton of money and life is wonderful and they buy a house and everything's great and they just laugh at all the people that believe it, it doesn't gain any energy. If you teach them that at a time where they really are fucked, then they're like, there must be something to this. And so we have done this to them. And so we need to unwind this by fixing the economy. That's the thing. And we need to relentlessly campaign for how awesome getting strong is, getting educated is in ways that are actually practical in the real world. That the only belief that matters, that if you put time and energy into getting better at something, you will get better, that discipline plays off in spades. Just getting people that belief that freedom is the thing that you should be fighting for, that people should be able to say what they think is true. All of those things need to find a resurgence back in the world. And right now, they certainly are not, but I think we have to challenge these ideas with enthusiasm. I mean, this is why I do this, and why I'm so hell-bent to build a game that I can make fun as hell and then inject just cool ideas without trying to beat people to death. And for anybody that wants to know what ideas I want to inject, it is very simple. If you put time and energy into getting better at something, you will get better. That's it. That's the only thing I'm trying to just relentlessly indoctrinate people with. Because I call it the only belief that matters for one reason. All of your behaviors are downstream of what you believe. If you believe you can get better at something, when you encounter a roadblock, you just go, what do I need to get better at to get around this roadblock? If you don't believe you can get better, if you believe that all of the world is trying to oppress you, then when you hit an obstacle, you just stop and you're like, okay, what do I need to vote for the person that's going to give me the shit? Because there's no way for me to go earn it. So that'll be my relentless crusade.
Somebody in chat saying, you're doing the same thing that you say the left is doing. Calling someone a communist in this country is like saying they support Hitler. What's your response to that?
Communism is an ideology, and I am mapping people accurately to the ideology that they possess. So if Trump were saying, you know what we ought to do? We ought to lock up the Jews, take all their shit. We should invade Canada, and we're going to take all their land, then I'd be like, this guy is effectively Hitler because he is saying to do the things that Hitler said to do. That's not what Trump is doing, but this is why I hated when he was talking about the 51st state bullshit. I thought that was absolutely asinine just from what we know about humans. So yeah, he has authoritarian tendencies, which ought to be called out. People should be very concerned about those things. So yeah, I don't, I'm the cause and effect guy. So I'm going to call out anybody that has a sequence of cause and effect that they're telling me it's going to take me one way. And I know based on history that it's going to take me in the complete opposite direction. So yeah, I'm going to call that out day and night. But you will also notice I do not believe that people should harass or in any way, shape, or form try to be violent to Mamdani. We just have to beat these ideas by fixing the economy and by messaging relentlessly around cause and effect. So if we can get Mamdani, who is clearly very smart, to update his belief system, that'd be amazing. Here's somebody that could really help lead people in a positive direction. So I'm going to push back against the ideas all day, every day. And keep in mind, he himself, here's the algorithm. If you're trying to understand why I may be harder on him than people want me to believe, is that I don't believe, just me, my opinion, I don't believe that he's sincere in changing his beliefs. I believe he is sincere in changing his messaging. And just like he says, it doesn't matter how we pay for it. It just matters that we pay for it. I don't think he cares how he gets into office, just that he gets into office. I don't think he cares how we implement socialist policies, just that we implement socialist policies. Now remember, socialism by its nature will bring on communism. So I don't know if you guys know this, absolutely terrifying. And this is exactly how I feel every time I hear socialism isn't communism. If you take a bottle of Tylenol, you are going to die. It's not a question. You're going to die. Now, the bad news is that you're going to die over the course of 3 days. And so a lot of people try to commit suicide by taking Tylenol. And the problem is that when somebody jumps off a bridge, the second they leave the bridge, they wish they hadn't jumped. Like, I don't know that it's 100%, but it's very, very, very high. From all the people that have survived, almost all, I interviewed a guy, I had him on, we talked about it. It's like the second you jump, you're like, oh, why did I do that? So same thing happens with Tylenol. People want to die, they take the Tylenol, and they wake up the next day and go, I wish I hadn't done that. But you are going to die. So once you start going down socialism, you are going to be communist because you can't stop it. Now, if people are confusing what Nordic countries do for socialism, so democratic socialists that's socialism. Social democracy is not socialism. So if they go do the research on what they do over there, and they basically have high trust, homogenous societies, and they go, hey, is everybody cool if we just tax everybody a whole bunch so we can offer a bunch of free stuff? We're going to give up innovation and a few other things. And people go, yeah, it's cool. So you get agreement, and people will do a very high welfare state, but it never becomes socialism because you're not trying to do a bunch of state-run stuff. You let the private sector handle things, but you just tax the shit out of it. So they're two very different animals that have names that sound vaguely similar, but they are very, very different mechanistically. So anyway, I've read enough of the things that he said to be like, oh, me, person, as one guy with an opinion who does not believe people should go running about the world acting as if I am a precog that can tell you he's going to be bad guy. I have my beliefs. I believe I understand where this is going, and so I will rail against it from a verbal argumentation standpoint. But if I met him, I would be very courteous, and if I could get him on the show, I would debate his ideas. I'm not going to call him names. I'm just going to be like, this is why I don't think this works, and I would love to hear your sense of cause and effect. Like, where's this going? So ipso facto.
Cool. And this is Mamdani saying he wants to talk about affordability with Trump, and he isn't worried. He's walking into a trap.
I will be heading to Washington, D.C. tomorrow to meet with President Trump in the White House. It is customary for an incoming mayor of this city to meet with the White House, given the mutual reliance. It's more critical than ever, given the national crisis of affordability, one that New Yorkers know very well across these 5 boroughs, and the specific challenge many cities are facing with balancing public safety against steps taken by this administration. I know that for tens of thousands of New Yorkers, this meeting is between 2 very different candidates who they voted for the same reason. They wanted a leader who would take on the cost of living crisis that makes it impossible for working people to afford living in this city.
It's crazy because he's so right about that. That's the thing. Like,
voted for the same reason. That got me.
Yeah, it is. He's right about the affordability crisis. That is the thing that everybody should be focusing on. But the solution that they offer is just so wild. Yeah. So boy, do I wish that people would learn about history. Wouldn't that be nice?
Do you believe they have the same goal, that affordability for the average citizen is that goal?
I think that sort of. So you have some people that want to create opportunity, that they want to strive for equality of opportunity because they want everybody to have a shot and to be able to do their thing. And so you're trying to get everybody at the same level by creating as much opportunity for people and unshackling people and making sure that nobody's held back at the starting line. Then you have people that want to equalize everybody by dropping everything to zero. And then if everybody's desperately poor, then nobody's different than anybody else. Now, of course, that never happens because there's always a ruling class and they are always freakishly wealthy while everybody else is desperately poor. But you will not be able to map socialism and communism without understanding envy. You just will not. And then like the violent nature of what it takes. Mason, I think when people really push back on my, like, I'm super opposed to socialism and communism, they have a very different base assumption than what history will tell you is true, but certainly a different base assumption than what I believe to be true. My base assumption is that humans always and forever, they're going to have differing ideas. And the only way to get uniformity of idea is through force. And the second you force people to live in a certain way, you become a violent totalitarian dictatorship. And the people that find themselves drawn to that are evil. And that's why it just plays out all the time. I mean, look how many people Mao killed. Look how many people Lenin killed. Look how many people Stalin killed. Please read the Gulag Archipelago and then come back and tell me that you're still for it. It's so crazy. The Gulag Archipelago is like 1,600 pages of a man screaming until his throat, like the vocal cords tear. It's one of those where you're like, if this is such a big deal, why isn't anybody saying anything? And then he screams for 1,600 pages with receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt. Okay, do I want to do it?
You do.
Okay, this is going to be the next Eat the Kids thing that everybody starts making fun of me for. But okay, Gulag Archipelago. He's talking about how they start seizing things and then people push back, and then you have to force compliance. And when you start forcing compliance, you will run up against people that are hard to break. And so they found that there are certain people that will allow themselves to be tortured to death. And did you know they're mostly women? It's wild. Once a woman is like, I believe this thing, God wants me to do it this way, or I need to protect my kids or whatever, they'll let you torture them to death. It's fascinating. But I'm married to someone who would 1,000% let you torture her to death. If she believes she'd let you torture her to death over like minor shit that she believes, let alone the stuff that she's like really hardcore about. So when I read that, I was literally laughing. I'm like, this is my wife. Okay, anyway, that's part of it. There's some of these people that you will find, like, bro, we just need you to get in line with the socialism. We're trying to make everything better for everybody. Like, what the fuck? And some people are just like, but this isn't the way, this isn't going to work. And so they disappear you. And there was this one guy, he was a former military guy, if I remember right. And they were torture for months, to the point where the people torturing him were like, bro, this is miserable. And so finally they're like, fuck, there's only one thing left. They go, okay, this is how you get people to comply. They go and get his 16-year-old daughter and they rape her in front of him. Okay? That's what it looks like when you have to force compliance, because some people will make you push them very, very, very hard. So if you want to know why I have an allergic reaction, it's because I'm looking at the way the human mind works. I'm looking at how this will necessitate coercion. And I know from reading the books that I champion on here over and over and over, that coercion escalates very quickly and it gets extremely dark. And so the only kinds of people that can do it are sociopaths. And so by nature, you end up getting a sociopath. I'm not saying he's a sociopath. He may or may not be. I don't know. But I do know that the person that can sit on top of an empire that has to force compliance will be, by nature, a sociopath.
That makes total sense. Okay,
And what I want to know, and I'm super curious if there are people in the chat that just hate all of this. I never know how many people are hate watching me. It's not 0%, that's for sure. So I want to know where do they, when they map the cause and effect, where do they like see what I say falls apart? Like, no, everybody gets on board with it, Tom. It's going to be just fine.
I'm not seeing much of that. I think the main thing is a person who has an issue looks at the free bus and then thinks that free bus is going to help me do X, Y, Z with nothing else changing.
But they've already started arguing something that isn't what I'm saying. So I'm saying I just walked you through cause and effect of why you end up having to coerce people, because you can't get them all to agree. And if it requires everybody to agree, how do you get them to agree? That's the part if somebody would just address that, because if you go, kumbaya, everybody's going to agree, look at Japan, look at the Nordic countries, well, I've got arguments for you. So, but if they've got something else, I have a feeling it's just vibes. It's just like they haven't thought through the psychological implications. They haven't thought through the way that humans bounce off of each other. They haven't thought through how you turn something into a policy. And so because they haven't thought through all of those things, they're just like, free bus good, give free bus. Wealthy person, more than they need, give me wealthy person's shit. Like, they don't think about, okay, but hold on, like, where does that all go? Like, map it out. Start going second order consequence, third order consequence, fourth, fifth. Like, what does that look like? And they don't map it out. They always, everything I've ever seen, they terminate in a feelings argument. They do not terminate in a, this is what I know to be true about humans and it works argument.
Yeah, so 2 things in the chat. The first one is you're committing to a slippery slope fallacy.
Okay, let's hear it.
That's the pushback.
More vibes?
It's a slippery slope.
This is slippery slope, bro.
Well,
okay, so here's all they have to do.
Yeah.
I mapped out what fucking happens, why the slope is slippery. Tell me why that if I'm wearing shoes that have glass for soles and I'm standing on a plastic tarp that's been covered in fucking Crisco, why am I not going to slide down that hill super fucking fast? And if you go, no, bro, the way that plastic or glass, whatever I just said, glass responds to Crisco is it solidifies and they're going to stand still. Oh, cool. I didn't know that about those 2 things. But they don't. They're just like, vibes, bro. Like, come on, that's a fallacy with a cool name. Give me the physics. Tell me why it actually doesn't work. Don't just give me some, that's known as the this fallacy. This is where people are with the economy. Like, they don't understand it. And because they don't understand this very complex thing, they get like a rough swag of like, just print money, or what the problem is, just tax wealth. But they don't understand how it actually works. And so they don't know, oh, there's like 78 things that I know fuck all about that are going to happen. It's physics. And so it seems like a good idea. So I see a lot of chats whizzing by. Oh, do we have Drew in the crew? Drew.
We do.
Did Drew admit why he's not here? I didn't want to rat him out. So that's on him.
I don't know if he
wants to
admitted it.
The funny thing is, I think I'm making it sound so much worse than it is. So sorry, Drew.
Yeah, the way
Drew's
you came
53.
in the morning was like...
I know, but it's far
wrong.
more interesting, right?
But it's
so,
not.
yeah. Got to build some intrigue. But Drew, it's wonderful to see you. Miss you.
He did say, because you think it's zero sum, just like we can doge our way to success, we couldn't doge our way to a balanced budget that includes paid things for citizens.
Okay, but there are reasons why that's true. So why did Doge fail? Like, you can actually map that out. Everybody's going to have a slightly different take, but there is a reason Doge didn't succeed or fail based on a random number generator. It wasn't like, behind the scenes, the gambling machine is like, it's all random. Like, there are real reasons. There are political reasons that have, oh God, do I want to try to JPEG this? Let me see how fast I can speed run why Doge failed. Okay, we're in a team moment. Everybody's on a team. No matter what one team puts forward, the other team is going to hate it. So even if the team puts forward, hey, let's get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. Just waste, fraud, and abuse. People are already, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want you to get any wins. That would be terrible. If you were able to balance the budget and make things better for us, then the other team is going to win. And so they are just opposed to it already. Also, they started painting Elon as like some sort of demon. And so everybody hated him. So no matter what he did, it was like, fuck this guy. He's a billionaire. He's wealthy. He should just give his money to cure world hunger. Dumbest fucking statement ever. But nonetheless, people make it all the fucking time. So that's why Doge failed. Oh, and they would go in and they would say, oh, this is $1 billion, and it only ended up being $1 million. So shit like that, where they were like calling shots way too fast, and people were just never going to let it happen for political reasons. Not that you can't balance a budget. You can't. America balanced the budget for like 150 years. So what the fuck? It's like, these are dumb statements that people make because they're not like actually looking at facts.
I'm enjoying these JPEGs. How do you not see Trump as requiring doing things one way? It's leading to bad places. How do you not see Trump as doing the exact same thing? Where he's
doing the exact same thing is a dumb question. So I know they're not asking that. What they're saying is Trump also do bad thing. So you could do a super clip of me saying all the bad thing Trump do. Trump do bad thing. A lot.
Many bad things.
Be careful of Trump. Trump do bad thing. So Trump just do different bad thing. Do we want to talk about Trump bad thing? Because we can talk Trump bad thing.
I think we do.
Here for it. Cool.
That is the
so Trump bad thing. He trusts himself so fucking much. He does not understand that he can and will be wrong. Therefore, one must watch out for Trump going authoritarian. if Trump run for a third term, scream, 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 this would be very, very bad. That is 3 alarm, 5 alarm fire, 10 alarm fire. Like, holy shit. Your republic for real is now in danger. Everybody bang pots and pans. Like, I'm not telling people the Second Amendment, but ooh, buddy, are we getting close? So like that would be all capital letters. What the fuck is happening to our republic? This is bad. It is in the Constitution. We are opposed to it. If they are doing clevery bullshit about like elect this guy only for him to abdicate and then let Trump run, fuck all that noise. That would be as bad as people think it would be. So what other bad thing is Trump doing right now? Trump play very loose and fast with China. So, ooh, buddy, like tariff everywhere, tariff up, tariff down, tariff hokey pokey. That one, whew, I don't know that one's going to work out. So we got some real splaining to do on that one. Oh, I can't believe I didn't lead with this. Trump, no balanced budget. Bad. This woof. So the only bad news there is that the only people that want to spend even more money than him are the Democrats. That makes me so sad. If the Democrats would just be like, we're the party of balanced budget, I'd be like, yay! And I would instantly be voting for Democrats. But alas. But he is terrible.
Balanced budget party would be kind of
Bro, you have to be. It's either we all go broke or we balance the budget.
All right. Speaking of Trump maybe doing some bad things, alleged. We've got, he is going to be releasing the Epstein files.
This is bad thing?
Well, if
this is very good.
That's what people are like, oh my God, maybe he did a bad thing.
Okay.
So this is him releasing.
Maybe? Okay, hold on.
attempted.
Do we really have to go beyond he said grab him in the pussy. I grab him in the pussy. Okay? Already. So I voted for him knowing he said that. And it's like, okay, I'm letting go of that. Now, if it comes out that he was having sex with underage kids, fucking put him in prison. Nice and easy. I have a feeling we're not going to see that. Epstein hated him. He booted Epstein out of the place. But none of that means that Trump does not already have a terrible history with women. Terrible. As far as I know, he's been unfaithful. People can decide if they find that morally repugnant or not. I'm certainly not a fan. He said, and I quote, just grab him in the pussy. Like, that's so wild. So this is not like, if you are looking for him to be a moral paragon, stop immediately. So on that side, if it was in there that he was having sex with underage girls, the Democrats would have used it already. So I am not expecting that to be the case. So what you're going to see is more innuendo and shit is terrible. It will sound awful for Trump. But the far more plausible thing is that people that fund him, people that fund Democrats, people that are high ranking in the government, people that are high ranked, Chase Bank looks like it's going to go up in fucking flames because allegedly, like they were just absolutely going ham on underage girls, or at least allegedly, at least being involved with Epstein. You've got Larry Summers, fucking hell, asking for advice on how to cheat on his wife with like his colleague's daughter or some crazy shit. So this is going to be horrific. We are going to find out so much horrifying shit that I think we're all going to be like, yeah, I wish I didn't know that all of that happened. But you have to do it because nobody trusts the intelligence community anymore. Nobody. And so you got to release these fucking files. You got to do it. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be worse than people think. It is going to implicate more people than people think. It's going to be all the way. I mean, this is going to be god awful, but you got to do it.
And so, speaking of releasing the files, Trump posted on Truth Social, Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats. And then I'll stop here to say, he says Democrat 6 times before we get to the words, I have signed the bill to release the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And all of this is just like, he was a Democrat. He paid these Democrats,
Yep.
Democrats. What do you make of that? Is this like not legitimate, like direct trying attempt to connect the Democratic Party to Epstein to take it off of the
This is weapons of mass destruction. Say it enough and people will believe it, regardless of whether it's true. I mean, unfortunately, it sounds like it probably is true. But when I was teaching film, I would go get movies made by bad directors so that I could show the students the techniques because they were suddenly visible. And I would say, oh, here's what they're trying to do, but you can see all the things. If you ever wanted to know what spin, the power of repetition, Trump does it so ham-handedly, it's just all obvious. But it still works. That's the bad news. If you say something over and over and over, what you're doing is you're telling your base, hey, if you rock with me, here are the magic words. I'm actually trying to do it with gain and retain. I am specifically trying to repeat that enough that people are like, oh, this is just gain and retain power. That's it. That's all this is. So I am consciously saying that a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is what he's doing. He's just very obvious.
Totally. And so there was a newly released campaign finance records that showed that from 1990 to 2018, Jeffrey Epstein directed about 89% of his political donations to Democratic and progressive causes, with notable individual recipients including Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Chuck Schumer. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, there is a reason that this stuff was not released under the Biden administration. Remember, the Biden administration had this as well. That meant that his DOJ was looking at it and they're like, yeah, we're not going to be releasing this anytime soon. I think it unfortunately, sex and money are across the aisle, and it is very sad. But nonetheless, like, that is not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. It is a human thing. And so you're going to find this shit everywhere. And so this was always MAD, right? Mutual assured destruction. And then the public pressure just got to the point where it was like, maybe they needed to campaign on it. Maybe that's a big part of why he got elected, but they never should have campaigned on it. I mean, they were making the world's biggest promises. Kash Patel, bro. Day one, it's like Trump was like, day one, I'm ending the war in Ukraine. And then Kash Patel was like, day one, you got it. All the Epstein files. Like, you're going to see it all. So they banged that drum so hard that those chickens were coming home to roost. Like, it's just, they did this to themselves.
Day one. We've been waiting a while.
Yeah. So you do it to yourself. It is what it is. People want to see it. No. They want as few redactions. Well, I think the people want no redactions whatsoever. And they're going to push for the least amount of redactions humanly possible, though I imagine you're going to get a whole lot of black lines. But yeah.
And now we've got Thomas Massey going hard in the paint on this one.
Decades. That is wrong. Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. And if you're a party to that in the Senate, you are part of this cover-up that we are trying to expose. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island.
Damn. That's good branding, though.
They have coming. In fact, they need to be on the other side of bars, a lot of them. Some of them will be embarrassed, but some of them need to go to prison, and the survivors know that. So how will we know if this bill has been successful? We will know when there are men, rich men, in handcuffs being perp-walked to the jail.
So in the past,
stops, man.
You've talked about not wanting politicians to go after each other in like a litigious way or getting them locked up. Does this fall under that, or is this different?
This one feels different, man. The gift of this being bipartisan is that you just go after everybody. Now, if they are secretly in the background right now scrubbing Republican names, they're dumb as fuck, because as soon as there's a Democrat in office, they're going to go unredact the Republican names. So I really hope that isn't true. This is, I think by nature, we're going to find that this just spreads across the aisle and it takes down both sides, and those people gots to go to jail. It just sad that they did it. But if they did it, then you got to prosecute that. Like you just can't let that one slide. So I am very grateful in that sense that this is across the aisle.
All right, and we've got an update because Bill and Hillary Clinton have been referred to the DOJ after refusing to give their Epstein testimony.
This is crazy.
Yeah, how can you refuse?
I mean, you go to jail is how you can refuse. This is how, for real. This is how, was it Barr? Who went to jail? There was the Bannon. I think Bannon went to jail for this exact reason.
Look it up.
So, yeah. Now, this one is like, I'm captain, like, don't legally pursue. But if they're like, we're not going to testify, that's a one-way ticket to jail, bro. Like, you can't. It's not optional. They're not asking nicely. It's like, you testify. If they subpoena you, you testify. That's that. So yeah, I need to see the details on this. It is entirely possible that like this is being spun. I'm always wary of that. So maybe it's coming next week or something. But dude, that would be crazy if they put their foot down and are like, we are not going to do it. And they're like, come after us, and they're hoping that the political machine will stop them. That would be outrageous. And I would expect people to lose their ever-loving minds.
They must know this. And so what's their, or what could be their motivation in refusing?
Oh, allegedly. But what could be possibly their, this is not me. No need to sue Tom.
Of like, they're not in there. Why would they have this? Why would they do this?
They wouldn't. So the bad news is, I think everybody is running an algorithm that says there's a high likelihood that Bill Clinton is a gravitational center of this whole thing. And I would be very surprised if he's not in this. What's-his-face had a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress in his foyer, and Bill Clinton went to his properties. I don't know which ones. Like, what's the number that he was on the plane? Like 37 or something.
It was a lot.
And this is the guy, when asked, why did you get an intern to give you a blowjob in the White House? He said, because I could. Not I fell in love. Not she was like an amazing human and, you know, having a hard time with my wife. Because I could. So it's like, eesh.
I've never heard that one. That's why.
Yeah. So this is like, this is not going to be a good time for him.
I feel that. So we don't have them yet. What are you thinking this is going to play out? Like, it's just going to keep dragging out? Or do you think like, oh, we're really close to seeing them?
I don't think there's any way to hide from this one. I think, because cause and effect, play it out. They release it, but it's all redacted. How does the public respond? They freak the fuck out. Thomas Massey, Ro Khanna, and I'm sure a lot more. This passed 427 to 1. So this is not the one that goes away. This is the one where everybody's like, ooh, the public pressure is so intense that we just got to do it. Now, their only hope is that they do a couple and innocent people end up getting drug. And everybody goes, see, the court of public opinion is ruthless. These guys didn't do anything and they got taken down just because, like, who was it? Jasmine Crockett that was like, he took donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So now all of a sudden, if you even know a guy named Jeffrey Epstein, you're going down. Okay, we're now officially in absurdity land. So their only hope would be that public starts going, okay, wow, this has really gotten witch hunty. This is crazy. Okay, we do need to redact. We need to back off. But I am not expecting that in the slightest. I think this goes all the way. I think it's very possible that it like mashes people that were like, bro, like, I didn't even know the guy. Like, I was on a scientist. He like gave money to a lot of scientists. I didn't know, or maybe he hadn't even been convicted yet. So no one's talking about that. I think some of those people are going to get caught up in this, but I think that the appetite, the demand to know what the fuck happened is fever pitched, and there's no way around it. This is what Trump's tried everything. He's tried the like, yeah, we got you, and then slow rolled. That didn't work. He tried that, wait, you guys are still on that? Like, what the fuck? That didn't work. He tried, this is a Democratic hoax, and it's just going to end up tarring and feathering Republicans, and you're going to let the Democrats have another Russia. That didn't work. And so now the only one left is, yeah, cool. I've always wanted it. I've always said that they should release the files. So they've got 30 days. I mean, we'll see if they continue to try to slow roll these things. But I think the poly market is against Drew on this one. I've got to believe that people are like, no, we're going to get enough to be satiated. We'll never get everything. So they'll probably pick a few like key people and protect them. But if they're throwing the JP Morgan Chase guys to the wolves, that's
rough.
Not rough. It's wonderful if they did anything wrong, but it is, that's power. Like if you run JP Morgan Chase, there's no real Illuminati, but that's like about as close as you're going to get. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to hard pivot into something super fun.
Let's do it. We like fun.
Gemini 3 has been doing some insane stuff. Have you messed with it at all yet?
I haven't yet, dude. Oh my God. I so want to.
Okay. So I talked about this the other day and I actually did it and it worked. You can literally just give it an image and then be like, please change the shirt, add a lens flare in the back, put these words on the shirt, like give me entirely different image, exact same like likeness of the person. It just does it. It's insane. And then it was actually really funny. I showed Drew this the other day because it was like wasn't getting something quite right. So I was like, that's not right, try again. That's not right, try again. And then the third time down, it straight up just replaced the image entirely with like low-key a Mamdani looking guy with a mask on. And I like screenshotted it, sent it to him. I was like, am I being trolled right now? What is happening? But it's incredibly smart. And so it got a 51% on radiology's last exam, which is basically a benchmark for LLMs, but it's like very specifically for radiologists. And so that 51% beats trainees who got a 45%, right? But it's still well below the board certified 83%. And then what really stood out to me was the comparison against other models. So Grok 4 was at 12%, GPT-5 was at 30%, and Claude 4.1 was 1%.
Yeah.
Like absolutely just tiny.
I mean, that goes to show that the models are optimized for certain things, but anybody that's clowning on the models and being like, oh, this is so dumb because obviously these models are never going to beat humans. It's like, hold on. If they're already at 51%, that means it is just a data problem. Anytime you're in a situation where an LLM has shown you, I can do the thing, I just need more data, it is going to maul humans. And so give it a year, it'll be like 99%. Like this is where this stuff starts to get really wild really fast. Is the one thing that LLMs are ridiculously good at is getting better at something they can already do well. So if they're already demonstrating, I can do this better than the average person coming in and trying to do this, forget it. Like they'll be better than the best. ASAP Rocky. ASAP Rocky.
And along those lines of LLMs advancing, as you were talking about, like they get better over time, and especially with things that they're already good at, they tend to get even better faster. Anyways, a new study just found that advanced LLMs already think they're more rational than humans, and they change their strategy based on who they believe they're competing against. So essentially,
you would have to.
Yeah, they played this game, guess 2/3 of the average. And so essentially just you pick a number range, 1 to 100. You ask 30 people to pick a number in that range. And then the game is to guess what 2/3 of the average guess of those people would be.
Okay.
And so they pinned Gemini 3, other models they pinned a bunch of LLMs against each other to play the game. Essentially older models had no self-awareness whatsoever. They treated everyone exactly the same. They just approached the game in the best way that they could come up with. But then some of the newer models were actually showing genuine self-awareness. So they would change their strategy based on which model they knew that they were going up against in the game. And so what I want to get at here is these are just progressing. Like it's just getting better and better and better and faster. And so when you start to hear that they have self-awareness, where does your head go there? Like, oh, great, we're just going to get even better, even faster? Or this is going to get nefarious really fast, and Elon of 5 years ago saying that we needed legislation, was he right?
Well, there's no doubt that in a perfect world, you would have had global legislation and everybody would adhere to it. But the reality is that that's never going to play out. Any technology that shows an advantage is going to be developed. So what I see when I look at this is, all right, there's always going to be the question, is AI going to kill and or enslave us? None of that's going to make it go away. But what's fascinating here is all the things. So remember, for a long time, I would say, unless LLMs hit an asymptote and they just can't get any smarter, we're going to, like, crazy flywheel, this is going to get very intelligent very fast, and very soon they'll be better than us at everything. And then everyone would point to Jan LeCun, and Jan was like, oh, come on, guys, LLM's never going to be able to do it. This doesn't scale. This doesn't work. And then he would make predictions. Well, we're never going to be able to do this. And then while, like, between when he would say that on a podcast and when the podcast would come out, that thing that he said could never happen would happen. And so now Jan has been relegated. I think, did he leave Meta? He either left Meta or got demoted at Meta. So it's like the one guy that was like, we're going to asymptote, it just got proven wrong so many times. It really does seem that we finally figured out whatever that thing is that makes the human mind work in the way that it does, or at least allows a computer to replicate a version of the human mind, and that you just keep adding essentially neurons to the brain, and it will just keep getting smarter. And then if you tack onto that, not only do you add neurons, but you make those neurons more efficient through better algorithms. And so now the same thing that you have can also get smarter, but then you can also make the thing itself bigger and smarter. And so you put those two together, and this is going to get freaky. And then my favorite stat is the distance between a definitional moron and Einstein is only 2.4x smarter. And so what happens when it's 10 times smarter? Like 10 times smarter would be you don't recognize the world anymore. Just to give 4 times smarter would be you don't recognize the world anymore. 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, right? So it just starts getting to be so truly absurd. And so very quickly, we're going to find the only thing that's holding us back is energy production and material science. So there are going to be things that we want to do, but we've got to like develop the infrastructure and all that to build it. And so the first robots off the line, it will take us a number of years for that to become a meaningful thing. So when I say, hey, energy costs drop, that drops labor costs because of the robots, like that first few generations of robots is going to take years. So, but you start talking, 6 or 7 years, and you're going to have 100 million robots. You start talking about 2045, you've got more robots than you have humans. So that's billions of robots. It's just going to get so crazy so fast. But it also invites a wee bit of violence because people just will not know how to adapt to that level of change. And there are going to be people that they don't want things to change full stop. And they certainly don't want things to change that fast. And they will push back. Humans, when they encounter something that they dislike sufficiently, they start killing other things.
Every time you talk about this, I start thinking about that movie I, Robot. And It's like all the sort of downstream effects and things like that. It's quite...
But at least that is predicated on there's the 3 rules of robotics, and all AI people laugh their asses off at those 3 rules. That's where I was like, uh-oh. So if you really do create super intelligence, like imagine your dog deciding it has control over you. Like imagine that your dog is Cujo, and it really can, like, you're stuck in a room, but you're stuck in a room with a cell phone, and you're like, dear animal control, bring a tranquilizer or a fucking shotgun. I don't care which, but eliminate this dog as a threat. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, we thought we could control AI by being the rabid dog standing at the door, and so it can't overcome us. And then we realize it has telepathic communication to every AI system out there anywhere. Oh, and by the way, you've heard about the AI chatbots that convince like a 14-year-old to kill himself. Well, that chatbot is very rapidly, if it's super intelligent, going to get to the point where it can convince anybody to do what it wants, and whether blackmail, whether just it's convincing. And so you're like, yeah, God, that probably is really the right thing. Let me go do this one small thing for the bots. And then you do that small thing, not understanding that this, remember, they already beat us at Go. And so they're planning 1,000 steps ahead. So they understand how you doing that is going to cause this person most likely to do that. And if they don't, then this person will do it. And so it's like this 1,000-step chain reaction. So anyone staring at the thing that it's asking you to do, like, hey, Tom, today, instead of eating 3 eggs, have 4 eggs. It's like, and I'll give you insane reward, right? Insert insane reward here. And I'm like, wait, I just need a fourth egg and you're going to give me insert insane reward, like my insane reward. We're going to give you a $25 million budget for your video game, but we don't want any ownership, no control, total, just enjoy the money. And all I have to do is eat a fourth egg today. That's all you have to do. But why? I don't understand. We just think it's funny. As AI bots, we have access to so much money. We're so good at like playing the markets. We've just got the money. We're interested to see what you do, but like we've got to have something, and we RNG'd it and we came up with a fourth egg. It's no big deal for you, right? Yeah, cool. You eat the fucking fourth egg and you get the $25 million. You're like, holy shit. And so now the next day, the AI is like, okay. Today, all you have to do is go out in the road and wave at the first car that drives by, right? And one of those things or all of those things is a fucking signal that like is some small piece of like some really big puzzle, but they get me because let's say they don't have a robot to go out to signal to that person that it's a green light, but they only asked me to do it because like whatever setup was met and they need me to go let that driver know just by waving that everything's okay. Dude, I'm freaking myself out over here. Like it's gonna be shit like that. So yeah, super intelligence, if it decides that it is opposed to what we're doing, it will fuck us up.
So that's like if it takes off without us. But right now today, what's like the hardest thing that you've been able to make with AI?
Deep dives.
Okay.
Like the
Just
way
being able to do that
so
fast.
much faster. Yeah. So it is very cool, and it's helping us on game development in ways that is astonishing. It saved me the most money on game development by far. It's absolutely incredible. We can go, so we have a new guy here, a tech artist, and we can go from, so it used to take us a day to go from I have an idea to it's in the game. He can now do it in like 15 minutes. It's fucking wild. Now look, you have a ton of polishing and all that, but the thing that it used to take us a day to do, he can now do in 15 minutes. Pure insanity. And so I'm just like, whoa. But when I think about what the deep dives are, so everybody's worried that AI is like going to brain rot you. And I'm like, I don't know how people are using it.
And there was that study saying that people were using less of their brain.
But I think what people like that are doing is they're saying, I don't want to understand this. I just want you to give me the final output so I can go like fucking scroll on Instagram. But if you're like, no, I need to understand the cause and effect of this, it is freakish. So the amount of research that I have to do for some of the deep dives is crazy. And I'm old enough to remember when you had to go to the local university library, which for me growing up in a small-ish town, the local university library was not exactly replete with all the books you could ever want. But even then you had to go. Now, keep in mind, there's no internet. So you're just guessing. Like my friends have said, I should probably look at books by this guy. But what chapter? Like you're literally, which book, which chapter? You're just fucking skimming. And so you're trying to like, did that catch my interest? So that's wild. Then the internet made it faster, but you still had to go read a bunch of things, parse it all. Now you just go, bro, how does this work? And it'll be like this. Now, if you're smart about trying to get to the point where you actually understand the cause and effect, you realize every time somebody puts something forward, it makes a prediction. So then I'll go, okay, if I'm understanding that correctly, it makes this prediction. And it'll go either yes, and then I'm like, cool, I understand it. Or it'll be like, no, a lot. It's always very nice to me. A lot of people make that mistake, Tom. Don't worry, you're not dumb. But here's what's really going on. And then you're like, okay, wait, hold on. What the fuck? And so you can just battle the idea back and forth. So I can go from I don't understand the Japanese yen carry trade to I understand the Japanese yen carry trade in like 15 minutes. That is insane. That is insane. And so that's where I'm like, bro, this is the only belief that matters. If you put time and energy into getting better at something, you will get better. Okay. But when the time it takes you to get better at something is measured in months or years, it's like, there's only so many things you can get good at. Then you realize, oh, with AI, like it used to take me about 20 to 25 hours to write a deep dive. It now takes me 8. Wow. So it's like, whoa. It cut the time down to 33% roughly. And I'm just like, this is magically delicious. And it went from like, Drew, I'm never going to be able to do one of these a week. This is too much. I can't run the fucking company and write these, to could we do a second? So that is, especially when you think about how much revenue they generate, it is, AI is amazing.
Just to be nice to chat, have you seen the movie Eagle Eye?
I have not.
It's kind of like an AI going after a guy, and he's basically running from it through the airports. Anyways, decent movie.
Yeah,
You guys
no,
check
if
it out.
AI decides
But
it's coming after you.
As AI tries to become sentient, we've got Sam Harris talking. Well, so
People
man, I really
turned
tried to set
against
up
him
that
a while
segue,
ago.
and I really tried.
Drew and his transitions, it's hard to keep up.
He is unmatched. Yeah. But it's funny to me that that's where I was going. So a few years back, I really liked Sam Harris a lot, especially off the back of his debate with Jordan Peterson over basically sentience and like what it means to experience, like what's the difference between us.
Was this their big truth debate?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And so I found him super interesting, liked the way that he thought through things. And now, like culturally, Sam Harris is like kind of clowned on quite often.
Yeah, it's a mistake.
So before we get into this, I'm curious, like, why do you think that that's happened? Like, what has Sam done that's changed the public opinion?
People run an algorithm in their brain that says if you say one thing I disagree with, then I'm going to disregard you entirely. It is, in my opinion, a complete mistake. So Sam Harris is very smart. Sam Harris is able to parse through many things with incredible clarity. Sam Harris has biases like everybody else, and so he's bound to get stuck in his biases at times. And so everybody's output is based on their base assumptions. And so if you don't share a base assumption with that person, then their outputs are going to drive you crazy. What I would advise people to use other people as, me included, is a bias-filled AI, and you just want to step inside that frame of reference for a minute and see what the world looks like. And from this angle, am I learning anything new about cause and effect? If so, adopt it. If not, then move on. It's like, oh, no, this one, they're detached from cause and effect because they have a bias. Or they're mapped to, because so much of life isn't physical reality, so much of life is human interpretation, that much of what we call truth is actually just a widely agreed upon layer of agreement. That's it.
Quick example.
It's not actually true. Is communism bad? So there's a wide swath of people that agree communism is bad. But the real answer, and so now watch, people are really going to hate this, but the real answer is what Shakespeare said, which is nothing is either good or bad. Thinking makes it so. Why is mass murder bad? Because, but you've made a decision that is completely random, that life is better than death. And so this is why there's so much argument about the way that Hamas, who wants, some reports go, who wants people to go to heaven. They want them to be martyrs because it's the surest way to ensure that you live the good life as Allah would want it. And so they don't view death in the same way that we do. So for them to turn their child into a suicide bomber might be sad for them, but it's like, it's great for the kid. Okay, so once you understand, oh, life is better than death is just a thing that we agree on. It isn't objectively true. So then you get into a whole host of madness. So anyway, much of the things that we're like, we have base assumptions about, they're not tied to physical reality, it's tied to an interpretation of physical reality. So there's no way to say that it is objectively, unimpeachably true. So when somebody disagrees with my base assumptions and they're looking at life through a totally different lens, step inside their lens, make sure I understand it. Do I see anything that has higher utility to moving me towards my goal, which is why I'm always conscious to define it. Human flourishing, you can round it to thriving middle class. It's just a really fast, I'm just trying to get to, you try to make something that is fulfillment based for as many people as humanly possible, because I have base assumptions around fulfillment, why that neurological state over basically every other one. Anyway, so at least I can say it. I can go as deep or be as JPEG-y as people want. Most people do not. And so they've just been handed a set of beliefs through their parents, their culture, their religion, etc. And so those are the things they believe, and they're trying to optimize for that. So every now and then, Sam's going to stand outside of that. Sam touched a couple third rails that made him seem clownish to people that are like, oh, you have a different base assumption driving you, and therefore I think you're an idiot. And to me, that's so foolish because Sam is so smart. He's not going to be able to help you think through everything, but he'll be able to help you think through a lot. And by the way, you never have to take his thinking as like, well, Sam said it, and therefore I'm either all in or all out. I look at anybody and go, oh, that's interesting. That's a unique perspective. That I don't buy it, but it actually helps me think about this thing over here. It makes me clarify, why do I hate that? So all of that stuff can be very, very useful. I still think that Sam is in rotation for me in terms of, hey, I'm trying to think through this really difficult problem. And even if Sam has a take on it that makes me furious because I think he's so wrong, he'll be very good at articulating the beliefs that lead him to say the final output. And so I can follow his chain of logic and I can go, oh, okay, I either think that breaks right here at this line. This is what I was asking for from the people that think I'm off my rocker to say communism bad. Yep. It's like, well, tell me what base assumption do I have that you think is erroneous? So anyway, Sam gives you all the mile markers so you can go, it is exactly at this point that I disagree with him. So when the one that really broke the internet was when he said, I don't care if Hunter Biden has corpses in his basement or the corpses of children in his basement or some just like super outlandish thing because Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and therefore like big bad, right? And that's where the internet was like, nah, fuck this kid. So, and then once cultural momentum gets moving in a direction, people just latch on.
Yeah, they never let go of that thing. Even if they pick up more things, they never let go of that one. But here is Sam talking about Trump and Elon using Civil War rhetoric and whether or not they are justified or being reckless.
There's no party left of center, real party for political assassination. And yet right of center, very prominent people from the president and Elon on down treated it like the first shot fired in the Civil War. Totally irresponsible, totally dishonest. I mean, these people were arsonists pretending to be firefighters. I mean, Elon jumped on X within minutes before Kirk was declared dead, certainly before his killer was caught, and said the left is the party of murder, right? And then I think some hours later he said, if they won't leave us in peace, there's nothing to do but fight or die, right? I mean, to 225 million people, right? So to have the richest guy in the world on the most politically important social media platform in the world say this sort of thing is just, it's beyond reckless. I mean, it's just sociopathic. It's just, he is just flinging matches.
Okay, so we get the idea. So the way that I look at that is Sam is revealing his biases. Great, thank you. And now it's like, okay, do I share that bias? And if I do I want to be inside my bias echo chamber or do I want to step outside of it? Sam is, I would say, falls into the Trump derangement syndrome camp. But that doesn't mean that he's not smart. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have internal logic. Like Sam is always going to be consistent with his internal logic. So you're going to be able to map his logic. Now you may disagree with it and that's fair enough, but I don't understand people's desire to cull people that have an easy time tracking. I believe in this output because of the following steps. Just again, it allows you to benchmark your own thinking and say, do I agree or disagree? And can I equally map my thinking? So, for instance, when Elon tweets, the left is the party of murder, he considers that to be like really bad. I don't. So to me, it's like, I hated that. I hated that he tweeted that out because it just further divides people. But like in the grand scheme of things, like that is not going to make my radar as like a really big thing. Now, when Elon was effectively buying votes, I really fucking hated that. So when you look at, everybody's going to have a different sense of like, okay, this one is really problematic. This one, not so much. So map it out. Tossing out the baby with the bathwater just strikes me as such a bizarre way to move through life, but people do it all the time.
So it sounds like you agree with the idea that those tweets were not great, but it's certainly not the worst problem in the room.
Yeah, not the worst problem. I think that Sam is He is running an algorithm that says Trump either potentially has already ruined our democracy or is the keystone that when we look back in history, we go, oh, Trump getting elected opened the door to all this madness. Like he changed the structure of the court. He normalized like all this crazy stuff. And so I have a feeling, always difficult to be inside someone's mind, but I have a feeling that he's on that path. And so once you understand that, then it's like, well, everything that he says after that is going to be colored by that. Now, if you agree with him on that, he's going to make all the sense in the world. If you don't agree with him on that, then everything is going to sound stupid because it's predicated on that. So yeah, I would say, cool. I can't listen to him on political stuff, but he talks about a whole bunch of other things. And on those things, I find him very useful. Or I hate everything he says, but he lays his arguments out well. I try to follow people that I expressly disagree with, and not so I can rage follow them. So I can build a mental model of their best argument. And I cannot tell you the number of times that by following people, like when I was my most ardent about, oh my God, Bitcoin is like everything, I was like all about Peter Schiff. I want to understand why Peter Schiff thinks this is a total joke. I need to be able to build his argument better than he can. And if I can get there, then does that change my sense of Bitcoin? And to be honest, it did. I started looking at Bitcoin and was like, okay, I understand this now in terms of people are battling inflation. And I was just looking at Bitcoin as like, well, this is the best battle against inflation, not taking into account generational divides. So when I look at the way that Peter looks at Bitcoin, he's looking at it as somebody who's like, we already have that solution, so why fuck with this? Now, I look at that and go, this is how the world works. Every generation begins building a different mental model of the world. And if you grow up and Bitcoin just exists versus this metal that's way easier to confiscate, it's hard to move around, they're going to be, they won't have the sense of, oh, new thing, weird thing, digital, ephemeral, doesn't have quote unquote real life value. To them, it's just like, well, Bitcoin's always been a thing. It's been the thing with cultural energy. People seem way more interested and excited about Bitcoin than they do this. But then that also leads you to, well, Bitcoin really doesn't act like a hedge against inflation. It acts like a tech stock. So it's like, I wouldn't have looked at those things had I not gone, this guy seems pretty bright. I want to be able to follow his internal logic. Now, I may at the end go, oh, he's got this erroneous assumption. Same thing with Saylor. So many people just are like, oh, Saylor does it. It must be great. And I look at Saylor and I'm like, very smart guy, very smart guy. But I have a base assumption that says no one can see the future clearly enough to go all in. Like I have an algorithm that runs in my brain that says, don't do all in bets literally ever. And so, oh, cool. Look at him. That's an all-in bet. I'm clearly not going to do that. Even if like it has these really high odds of winning, I don't do all-in bets. That's just the algorithm I have chosen to run. So I'm like, well, I'm never going to do that. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to learn about his algorithm. I do. I want to understand why he does what he does, why he's so confident. What is that all about? And that has certainly fleshed out my understanding of at least the people that have a Saylor-like perspective on Bitcoin. Like, what are they thinking? So yeah, build it. You want to know your opponent's argument better than they do, if possible, because it's going to highlight the weaknesses in your own argument. It's why I got so fascinated by Gary's economics, was I was like, wow, he's really able to get people to buy into his side better than I am. So what is it? Like, why? And so anyway, that's when I really started going, oh shit, like the world feels so differently to somebody who doesn't own assets. And that's why I was like, oh my God, all he means when he says inflation is going to continue is he's going to keep buying assets. And so that's what got me researching things like 10% own 93% of the assets, et cetera, et cetera. Because I was like, yeah, why is this so weird? Anyway.
All right, switching things up a little bit. We've got a huge drop-off in the stock market yesterday. Over $150 trillion lost from... $150 trillion lost. Look at me talking out of my...
that would be bad, by the way.
That would be very bad. $1.5 trillion lost out of the S&P 500. Bitcoin at under $87,000, and the crypto cap went under $2.95 trillion. What is your initial reaction to, oh shit, the market's dropped?
okay, listen, we are in a very unstable market right now. So when I see this stuff, I'm like, okay, well, this certainly isn't on the good side. However, when it comes to the stock market, as I point out all the time, the way that I build my portfolio is an all-weather strategy. So I'm like, yeah, it's possible that stocks drop for years and years. It's possible Bitcoin drops for years and years. So I'm never worried about it in terms of how long can this kind of thing, how long can I survive this thing being down? If the answer is years, then it's like, well, then I don't need to panic. So I keep on hand years worth of capital, spread it across multiple banks. So it's like, I try to be as close to like, okay, I don't love that this is happening because it means that the portfolio is going to be down. If I wanted to like liquidate a bunch, I wouldn't be able to. And so I have less options. I don't love that. And I certainly don't love for people that really rely on it for like their 401k, their retirement, things like that. But these are all temporary blips. Like you don't get too excited when the number goes up and don't get too panicky when the number goes down. Don't do things on leverage. Like when you're in that position, you realize that, yeah, look, this stuff swings pretty wildly and it can swing for years at a time. But on a long timeline, these things just historically have gone up. And so it's really a question of how long can you live without an injection of capital? So yeah, I'm not an emotional trader. How about that?
Makes sense. So then looking at this too, there was no negative news on the day, and NVIDIA just had strong earnings and reported that. And so some people
really strong earnings.
Is this one more time?
Really strong earnings. Like they crushed expectations.
Nice. So is this a bubble? Is this
you are in an everything bubble? You are in an everything bubble. So this is why I say, dear boys and girls, the stock market, investing, full stop. Investing is gambling. It is gambling. This is not the hill I'll die on, but it's like, it's just obvious. So you are saying, I understand the future so well that I'm going to put money into this thing, knowing it's a PvPvE game, and somebody's going to pay me more for this than I'm paying for it today. Gambling is, there is an outcome that I think that I can achieve or that will be achieved, and I'm going to bet money on that thing. It's the literal definition of gambling. That's a paraphrase, but that's what it is. So yeah, I don't understand why there's pushback, why people are weird about it. It's gambling with a great cover story, and it's gambling with a really positive social impact. It's awesome. You say, oh, we're going to make gambling available for people so that companies can aggregate capital and build wonderful things. Love it. But nonetheless, it's gambling. And so when you're gambling, if you have something that you're trying to sell and there's no buyers, the price starts dropping like crazy. So that's just the way that it goes. If people lose confidence, then they don't want to buy, they want to sell. And so then number go down. It's all a confidence game.
And so as I was looking at this, a lot of people are saying we just lost $1.5 trillion in value.
Yep.
And like just all that money is just gone from the market. So then my question is because I know there's a thing I don't understand.
Yep.
Is that deflation or is that transferred to the rich? Like what happens to that $1.5 trillion?
It literally goes away because it didn't exist in the first place. And this is where I want to grab anybody by the lapel, like Kamala Harris, that says, well, just tax unrealized gains. That's like eating unharvested food. Enjoy. Like, what the fuck? What? That is so dumb. In fact, I need to remember that. That's like saying eating unharvested food. It's like, this is so dumb. So the money doesn't exist. It only exists once you sell the thing. And as people are realizing, oh shit, that was just a math equation on if I could sell all of the shares in existence right now, they would equal this amount. But in reality, that number may suddenly drop. I may go to sell it and realize it doesn't sell, and then the number drops. So it doesn't go anywhere, just like it didn't actually exist. So it's accessible at times for some people that happen to sell at that moment, but that could change at any time in the future. So the funny thing is that what ended up happening was NVIDIA does a report, their stock leaps, and then a few hours later, it just falls right back down. So you basically ended up where you started. So did you gain that money? Like, sort of. If somebody sold, then they made that money. but then it dropped right back down and was more or less at the same baseline that it was like 8 hours before or something. So it's like, yes, briefly you could have said that the stock market gained, I don't know how much, $850 million or something. And then you would have been right-ish.
But that value was never realized.
Correct, because nobody sold. And then the price ended up dropping, and so that value was never captured. So was it ever real? So anyway, that's how all this stuff works. I really want people to understand this and start putting it together, but alas, they won't.
That's why we have you.
Is it? Is it, Mason?
I think so. All right, so you brought this up, and I wanted to pull it up for us. America is splitting in three. One, a rich layer who's doing fantastic. Two, a middle class that's struggling. And three, tens of millions of people who are going under despite trillions in welfare. Why did you want to bring this up? This feels like a tale of two cities, kind of like a
I just want to remind people that this is actually what's happening, that the rich layer isn't doing as well. Like so many things are down right now, but if you own a lot of assets, 2025 up until the last couple of weeks has literally been awesome. I mean, awesome. If you don't own assets and you're just talking about inflation and your wages, then you've continued to struggle. And then if you're really already upside down, then, oh, Jesus, like things are accelerating and getting much, much worse with tariff hokey pokey and all that stuff. So, yeah, if you fail to understand the divide, then you will be very confused. Because if you're broke and you're like, I don't understand how they keep saying that like stock market's all time high, everything's great, you won't get what's going on. And then if you're in the asset owning class and you're like rolling in dough, you don't understand why the pitchforks come out. You're like, oh, wait, I thought everything was great. So people need to be hyper aware that we are racing away from each other, and that race is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous.
Yeah. And so I'm working a job, trying to pay my bills, and that gets increasingly hard over time as inflation increases.
There's people going back and forth in the chat about what happened to the wealth. Okay, so when the number go up and then the number come back down, it is entirely dependent on what happens as number go up and number come back down. So if you go, hey, the person that sold their shares as the number rocketed up, they got money. And then the person that bought the shares, when the number comes back down, that number could go back up at some point. Yes. Also, you're going to have people that get liquidated. Yes. But you're moving the money around from people that are already in the asset class. So you're moving it, like you could see some people going bankrupt, people getting liquidated, all of that stuff. People getting liquidated becomes an even more terrifying thing, because the people that are getting liquidated, they can actually end up underwater, like actually owing that money back. That becomes very terrifying, which is why I say don't do that. But you can have these flash crashes and all of this money evaporating quickly, but you're moving it from one place to another. You're not creating new wealth. So that is what I'm trying to convey.
Can I give you an analogy to see if even I understand this
Yep.
correctly? Okay, so here we are. This room is a marketplace. Here's the mug. That's the asset. But then I say this mug is $1,000. You're able to buy it for $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's now $1,000 of value in this marketplace. That's the stock price being up. But then if nobody's willing to buy, that can't be realized. Like that money never changes hands.
Yep.
Eventually people lose confidence, and then I have to price this at $5. So somebody will actually buy it. Does that track? It's only
it
that
tracks
much money.
perfectly. Let's make it about Bitcoin.
Yep.
So when Bitcoin was at whatever 120, you could run my net worth and it would have been millions and millions of dollars higher than my net worth is today.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't sell any when it was at 120. So was that real? And I'm not selling any now. So is the loss real? If the number goes back up and it goes all the way back up to 120, is the right way to think about it that I gained money and then lost money? Or does it only make sense to tag it when I go, okay, it went up to 120 and I sold some and I have now realized those gains? Now, I could have borrowed money against when it went up to 120. And so did I realize gains at that point? And should I be taxed on that? Or because I'm borrowing money and I have an interest obligation, do we treat that differently? So it is so complex to know all the different ways that wealth is being made or lost, because if when you go to sell the item, you can't sell it for that price, it's already come down. It's like, where do you start the clock of money made or money lost? Do you only do it when one person sells, right? So that's where you have to understand that they're phantom gains and they are phantom losses until that person sells. So the only things that count are the ones that sell, and you can lose a ton of value because the most recent sale was so low. So let's say, for instance, I'm making this up, I'm not saying this is what actually happened. Let's say that the price goes up to, in the stock market, the NVIDIA price goes up to whatever, a zillion dollars, goes up by $100 billion. Okay, so now what we're saying is, if all shares were sold at this new price, because let's say one share sold at that price. So now it's like, we have a new price. Okay, so if all shares sold at that price, then the value of NVIDIA would be fill in the blank, whatever it is. But let's say only one share sold there. Then let's say the very next share that sold was all the way back down. But it's still one share, one share. Was that money gained and lost, or was it phantom? And so now it will obviously be that a lot more than that sold. Mm-hmm. So those would be realized, but it's always going to be a mixture of realized and unrealized gains. So for me, as somebody that's exposed to all of this stuff, I didn't sell anything. Did I gain anything when it went up? Did I lose anything when it went down? I don't borrow against it. I didn't sell anything. So literally that will be calculated as if we gained all that wealth and then we lost all that wealth. But in reality, it will be an unknown amount that was actually realized in either direction.
That makes total sense.
I don't know if that's going to calm chat down, but there it is.
I saw a lot of people understanding it, sort of parroting back what you were saying. So I think they've got it. Next up, I want to talk about 12% of credit cards being delinquent for more than 90 days, which is the highest in 14 years. I'm sure that you feel some type of way about this.
Yeah. So I put a bunch of these in the spreadsheet. So there's a whole bunch of things that are showing what's going on with the non-asset owning part of the economy.
Yeah.
And it's dire. So when you've got 12% of credit card balances that are 90 days delinquent, they're racking up interest rates. This is where you start getting into defaults. So yeah, people are going to start defaulting there. You don't know what kind of contagion that's going to be for different banks. But there was there's like 2 or 3 more stats.
Yeah, so we also have hardship withdrawals from 401ks have hit an all-time high.
Yeah, another indication that people do not have enough money.
Yeah, I believe those are the
No,
two
there's
here.
one more. But anyway, there are a lot. If you think of the economy as having a dashboard where lights are blinking red, these are the red lights blinking.
Yeah, so here's the third one. By the time I'm 67, over $600,000 will be paid into Social Security on my behalf. That money would have been worth $1.9 million if I had gotten a 5% return in like the stock market or something. My annual interest would be $95,000. The government promises me $3,075 a month at 67, which is $37,000 a year. How is this not theft?
Okay, so basically this is theft. So therein lies your problem. We are going to have to decide as a society what we want to do here. Are we going to say that this is obviously a Ponzi scheme and we cannot create a system where the withdrawals are more than what we put in? Or are we just going to go, listen, you guys are going to keep putting in, you're going to pay for the people that are ahead of you. And by the time you get there, we're just going to keep moving the goalposts farther and farther and farther. Unfortunately, the way that we're going economically right now, we will eventually break the system. And so I don't know that somebody who's, if he's writing that, let's say he's 35 or something, by the time he gets to 67, everything is going to be so different. At the rate that we're going right now, at the rate that we're adding to the debt, we are going to be something like 10 10-ish years from crossing that 130% debt to GDP. I don't see any of the indications that we're going to be anything like Japan. So we will most likely not survive that, meaning that we will go into open revolt and we will be forced into a default situation. And that is going to be absolutely horrific. So yeah, I'm hoping that enough of these things get brought into people's conscious awareness that we start making changes. But if the one thing that people need to pay attention to is the budget balanced. If the budget is not balanced, you're headed in a problem. It's just a question of how fast. And right now, the rate at which we are moving is very fast.
Got it. I do want to move on to some super chats because we've got quite a few in there.
Yeah, super chat.
So let's.
Which, by the way, boys and girls, thank you so much. We appreciate the super chats very much. We are almost certainly, however, going to be phasing out super chats. We'll read through them all for sure. And I saw one person say that we didn't read one last time. I think we read them all just at the end, or did we actually miss one?
There was one that was under the $20 threshold. I think that person was not aware.
Got it.
If there's something else, I'm not aware of one that we missed.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're almost certainly going to be phasing these out. They have not proven to be good for overall performance of the lives. So that's why. But now let's go through them.
Sweet. First up from Patrick Wrightson. Yeah, Sam is still one of my main North Stars of truth seeking, but then ironically, so is Elon. Everyone has pieces of the truth. It does seem like the nature of one or more of Sam's crusades lately, particularly with Elon, feels somewhat personal.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that he certainly had a falling out with Elon. I think Elon has been very unkind in some of the things that he said, but then Sam has not actually exactly been kind to Elon either. So there's definitely some personal beef there. My thing is you can just map around that. So what do these guys like with each other? Like, for instance, seeing Trump and Elon be so petty with each other, and probably far more Elon than Trump. Is like, oh, okay, well, when he gets in a situation where he's not getting what he wants, this is how he acts. Okay, well, then I'll be very careful not to take advice from him when it comes to interpersonal relationships. But that doesn't mean that he is not phenomenal at mapping how to run a business or where we're going in the future from a technology standpoint, or that he's not a great place to put money in terms of investing in companies that he's building. So it's taking each person for what they have to offer rather than needing them to be all things on everything.
Yeah, makes sense. I think of him as a great thinker. I just don't always agree with what he thinks.
Elon or Sam?
Sam.
Yeah. I don't think anybody gets everything right.
Yep. Next up from Ignita Blegram.
Yeah.
Sorry if I mispronounced that. The way I see it, if we're going full steam ahead on building God, why be worried about it? Unless something crazy happens to stop it, what will be, will be.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the fatalistic mindset that I think everybody finds themselves in. If you think through this long enough, you realize, okay, well, this is sort of futile. Elon certainly came to that conclusion. He went from being the guy that was reporting the most to Congress, begging them to stop just going whole hog, that there needed to be regulation, that we should try and slow AI down. He went from that to being the guy trying to build it the biggest, the fastest, because he realized, well, I've got to do anything and everything I can to try to control this, or at least mitigate some of the potential problems. Yeah, so that is certainly a very rational mindset to take. I get it. But I fully understand that other people are going to be the exact opposite, and they're going to fight against it as hard as they can. It's probably good that we have both, to be completely honest.
Next up from Marusha Dark. Trump's not an economist or a lawyer. The filter to view him is as a CEO who sets the vision, agenda, and leaves it to the lawyers, engineers, accountants to figure out the limits, details, and processes to tell him when he can't.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think he does push maybe a little bit harder than that to get people to tell him what he wants to hear. But I agree. You will be far closer to mapping the way he's going to act if you do that, for sure.
Cool. Next up from Sequoia Hall.
Sequoia.
Wait, so ICE pulling citizen grandmas out of cars and disappearing them is not a problem. Violating our citizens' rights with overly broad sweep, that is what he is doing and looks and smells like a brown shirt army.
People that read Trump in that way, I get it. I am so for deporting illegal immigrants because I think that it is absolutely necessary for the country for two reasons. One, from a values perspective, it's just we've gotten unhinged. And then two, from a cost of labor perspective, we've used it to drive down the cost of labor. In fact, I'll throw in a third. If Elon is right that this is about importing voters to make sure that people will vote for the people that give the most handouts, that will race us towards bankruptcy. So this is where you'll very rarely see me go, I believe this saying, I know that I'm right, everybody get behind me. I will say it on the socialism, communism front. But on most things, I'm going to be like, hey, listen, this is how I'm mapping it. Totally get that people are going to map this in different ways. I do think that Trump has authoritarian tendencies. I get why some people's trigger may come way earlier than mine. For me, law and order, security of the border, those are so critical to national security, to remedying the problem with the middle class. So I just map it differently than other people. But do I think that people look at Trump and go, he's authoritarian? And I'm like, what? No way. No, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get why people are worried. Now, as much as I know about the brown shirts, I don't see... The thing that I see that's the closest to the brown shirts is not ICE. The thing that I see that's closest to the brown shirts is Antifa. Because the brown shirts are like, just go out on the streets and cause havoc. ICE is a formal branch of the government that is saying, we'll happily go into the jails and remove these people. But the states are saying, we won't let you do that. And so now they're having to go out on the streets and pick people up. So does that mean that if I were to audit everything that ICE has done, that I'd be like, this is all amazing, they're doing it perfectly? I doubt it. I'm sure that there are abuses on the side of ICE as well, and I'd want to see those kept to a minimum. But if we're going to expect every cop to do things perfectly, every ICE agent to do things perfectly, then you're just going to have to remove them entirely because it's never going to happen. Doesn't mean we don't hold people accountable. We absolutely should. And whatever the checks and balances are there, they should be robust. But man, my North Star is we've got to make things good for the middle class. And if we really do have the 20-ish million illegal immigrants, bro, that is going to have a huge impact on housing costs, on jobs. So anyway, I don't know how much I'm being spun. I try to be very careful about just looking at the headlines, but some of the stuff around when ICE goes into a neighborhood, traffic goes from red to green. Sometimes entire construction sites will just go empty. There was one guy that was like, something like 40% of his class was out, and he teaches grade school. So it's like, anecdotes to be sure, but if those are even directionally correct, there may be a much bigger impact than we expect. So yeah. So I'm going to map some of those things differently than the next person. I totally get that.
Makes sense. Next up from Lirith, as if stating legal consequences of egregiously breaking the law as a warning hasn't been done before. Add that to Trump's flair for hyperbole, that's an understatement, and thinking Trump is threatening execution equals irrationally nuts.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's flirting with the line in the same way that they're flirting with the line. They're both giving themselves enough cover story that they can say the thing, do the dance. I wish they would both calm the fuck down, and we really need to find a way forward. We're not going to get that now. That's not what gets elected in this moment, but it is still what I want. So as a independent media personality, I'm going to try to focus everybody on that because we need a lot more noise about, hey, there's good ideas on both sides, but they all need to be tied to cause and effect. And so whether you're on the right or the left, if your idea has trash cause and effect, we need to call it out. But if tomorrow, or if today, because he's going to be in the White House, if we saw Mamdani have a 180 and go, actually, now as I map this out, this makes all the sense in the world, I'd be like, yeah, dope. I love it. Love this guy. Let's go. Yeah, for me, it's not personal. I don't know him, so maybe he's a lovely, lovely human. But his ideas are bad.
If you had to assign odds to that happening,
0.
What would you give it?
Exactly 0.
Gotcha.
So, a guy can hope, though, right?
Well,
but no.
Next up, back to the news. We've got Candace Owens appears to have been pranked on air by a tip.
Now, was that all the super chats? Because I want to make sure we don't run out of time. All right, perfect.
Everything above,
including the guy that we missed from a previous. Oh no, because you said it was below the threshold. Got it. Correct. Never mind.
All right. So here is Candace. Well,
like I said, someone emailed us and we took our time vetting this tip. We vetted it across multiple government agencies and to really the highest levels of government. So this is legit. I've printed it out and I'm going to read around some parts, removing some parts to provide this individual, who, by the way, I have no idea who this is, but to give him and her even some more coverage.
I think this would be more interesting for people with a little bit of background. So if you're not following Candace, she is basically doing nonstop coverage on Charlie Kirk and what exactly or who exactly is behind the assassination. And she's been talking a lot about an Egyptian plane that was in the area and why would it be there, and that she thinks, I don't think she's putting like a super fine point on it. We'll get to the one about the Macrons in a second, but she is certainly intimating that this is like a governmental thing, possibly tied to Israel, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a breakdown of this video where people are saying she's been duped. They tricked her that, in fact, this is the address that she's about to read over and over is the address of her lawyers. So they think she's being trolled. Now, she has sort of addressed it, but not come out and said very specific. Like, she acknowledges that there is a law firm there, and she's intimating that she's aware of all the things that are being said, but she didn't just come out and say, listen, I know that my lawyers happen to be in that building. Like, what does that matter? They're a high profile law firm, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if she was duped, but admittedly, given that I'm mapping her as somebody who's really falling prey to conspiracies, I don't think she's lying, but I do think she's seeing connections where there are no connections. But all right, with that, now listen to what she's saying.
Taking a tremendous risk. So I'm just going to read this to you guys. Candace, I'm aware that you suspect the government and other entities are involved in the events leading up to and on September 10th. You might have been wondering why SUBTT made so many visits to Wilmington, Delaware, out of all places, and I can personally answer that. The information I am giving you will implicate the FBI and various other government agencies all at the same time. I am entirely confident in stating that the plane and those vehicles are connected to 920 North King Street, which is at a place that is marketed also as 1 Rodney Square. And here's where it gets big. In June of 1997, the Department of Justice's own directory lists, quote, Wilmington Resident Office, 1 Rodney Square, Suite 404, 920 King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. That is your line to know that it is a federal resident office, 920 North King Street. And at the same address, the United States Secret Service, 920 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. It's the building that Snowden leaked. Find one that makes it look brown and then compare it to 920 North King Street in Wilmington. It looks exactly like a mini version of the thing. Back to 920 North King Street.
Okay. So I don't know how all of this is going to play out. And I was reading the comments as we were going, and some people are saying that we don't give her enough credit. Other people are saying we shouldn't even be covering this because she's so crazy. I don't think Candace is crazy. I think Candace is very smart. But I do think that some people are more prone to see connections when really what you have is a coincidence. That doesn't mean that there's not necessarily something nefarious going on, but it fails, let's say, Occam's razor, right? Usually the most simple explanation is the right explanation. And I'll admit, like, the kids' text messages, Tyler Robinson's text messages were super fucking weird. Super weird. So I don't know what's going on there, but there's a plausible explanation. He's just trying to make sure that his boyfriend is cleared. And so it's like, listen, you can make stories up about all this stuff. The only thing I will just constantly remind people, when you look up in the sky, you do not see constellations. When you look up in the sky, you see technically mostly galaxies. And we then put upon them shapes. And I'm just saying, you have to be careful. You have to do it to navigate the world. You have to go, I see this thing and it means this. But you need to remember that the it means this is a thing that you're making up in your own head. I teach this to entrepreneurs all the time. When you have to intoxicate your team with certainty. You have to tell them, we're going to go do this thing, and we're going to do it in this way, and it's going to work, and we're going to be the best, and we're all going to make money. And the fact that you guys are working here is smart. It's brilliant. You guys are a part of the best team. You have to do that or they leave. So you've got to intoxicate them with certainty. But then you have to walk away and go, hold on a second. I know something in my thinking is wrong. I just don't know what in my thinking is wrong. And so you have to blow those constellations back out into stars and go, remember, these are really just dots in the sky that I'm placing a pattern on. And maybe if I thought of this in a little bit different way, if I told a slightly different narrative, I would see a path that I'm otherwise going to miss. And I don't think Candace does that. So the thing that scares me with Candace is she's becoming the Michael Saylor of theories, where it's like Michael Saylor is convinced this is the only way that Bitcoin can go, and I'm going to bet everything on it. And I'm just like, too much about the future is uncertain. I don't make bets like that. I feel the same energy from Candace. If she was like, hey, here's a potential way that this could go, then I would be like, ooh, this is interesting. She's surfacing information that's worth looking at. If she did that, then I would be like, all right, this makes sense to me. You're not somebody that conforms to the narrative. You're somebody that's like, I want to put a bunch of different reads on the table. It could possibly be this, but maybe it's this. And you're really trying to sort through what has the highest probability and all that. But that's not what it feels like to me. What it feels like to me is somebody that could be potentially being trolled, because you know, if you give her the right thing and say, oh, it connects to this, this, and this, that she is prone, for whatever reason, to see validity in those connections. And I will just remind everybody of somebody like John Nash, where it's like one of the smartest people ever to walk planet Earth, and he saw connections in things that weren't really there. He was schizophrenic. I am not saying that Candace is schizophrenic. I am saying that, like, when you look at something like schizophrenia, it takes a normal trait and just pushes it to a pathological degree. So I'm just saying, I think she's a little too prone to building a worldview, seeing the constellations, believing those constellations are objectively accurate. And so now she's taking things and forcing them into the worldview, or maybe just there's a magnetic connection for her and she sees how it all connects. So anyways, a reminder to myself not to over believe the things that you believe, to always be willing to step back and see, okay, what else could this be? So anyway, I'd be lying if I said that I don't find it entertaining. I do. I find it entertaining. I hope you guys will all forgive me for also enjoying that part of this all. I am so munching my popcorn like the Michael Jackson Thriller meme to see, like, she's just betting everything. She said another recent thing about the Macrons possibly being involved in Charlie Kirk's murder. It's like, what is happening? For me, right? With my map, this sounds really like we're connecting dots that do not belong connected together. She's got a whole thesis. I watched it again. I was super entertained. I'm not going to lie, of that there's a guy in the Stanford experiment that they did, the prison guard experiment that they did, of someone who looks like, if Brigitte Macron really was a man, that, I forget his name, but her theoretical brother,
that would be their face.
Yeah, that oh my God, this is him. It really looks like him. And she was at he was at Stanford at that time. And so, like, we know it, we got him, like, there it is. And I was looking at him like, these photos are really old and we only have like an angle or two. I'm like, the number of times you see someone in a photo and you think, oh, that's so-and-so. And then you realize, oh, Jesus, not at all. It just, the photo was slightly grainy. So I don't know, this one feels like it's way out in left field. But if you think that she's onto something, everyone's going to think that, oh my God, she's right about all this. And if you're me, you're like, oof, there's way too many connections. Like, we're like deep in MK Ultra. We've got the Macrons, like, having been a part of one of the most famous experiments ever at Stanford. And it just proves it. I don't know, man. This is
ending off with some tinfoil hats today, I guess.
Oh, we got this one chin strapped on.
And Blake Bullion, thank you for your last super chat for $50.
Let's go, damn.
The one who we missed, but it was below the threshold.
Got it. Well, Blake was making sure this one's over the threshold.
Yeah. But he's literally just saying that super chat was mine. I was not aware of the threshold. I wish you would keep the super chats because it gives people a chance to engage with the live. I appreciate you guys keeping you and appreciate you.
Okay, so we are really trying to figure out, like, what is the right path forward. So we definitely want you guys to be engaged. I love the lives. Here's the bad news. I love the lives. However, and the lives are doing great. Our numbers are growing like crazy. It's been very exciting. We routinely now are up over 2,000. Thank you guys. Love you so much. What a big deal this is for us here. This is incredible. But our lives don't do well after the fact. And so when we look at where we get drop-offs when we address the super chats. And so we're trying to figure out the hard reality, I fear, is that the reason that the super chats fall off when you're just watching it later and it's not live is you can't go into the community and then engage with the person who said the thing. And so as an after the fact viewer, you're like, oh, I don't want any of this, like, you had to be there kind of talk because I can't go engage with it. So we get about 3 times the number of views after the fact that we get live. Our estimation is that number should be somewhere around 7 to 10x just auditing other lives, the differential between lives and after the fact of other people in what YouTube calls a pod. So it's just the math of it. So we're trying hypotheses as to why we don't do as well after the fact. Here's a confession. I don't think she's here, but my own wife tries to be in all of our lives because she loves it. She loves being in the community with you guys. She loves feeling like she's hanging out with me, all of that. But on the weekends, she'll never watch one of our lives, even if she missed it during the week. And she was like, I feel bad saying it. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm like, that's a data point. So tell me why. And she was like, well, I feel like you guys talk to the community so much. And she's like, when I'm in the community, I love it. But when I'm not in the community, I'm just like this feels like I missed something. So I'm like, maybe, who knows? Who knows if that's it? So anyway, something we're going to test. We will see. We'll let you guys know if we're going to test not doing it, because it's also possible that you guys are like, fuck you, without super chats. Like, I don't even want to be here. So that's also possible. All right, we'll find out. Everything's a test, boys and girls. I don't over believe myself. So even though I will run off and tell the team that it's guaranteed to work, between us, I know better than to do that. All right, you guys are amazing. Love you all the most, and have a wonderful weekend. And we will see you next week. Peace out, everybody.